adrenaline pressure. It's stormy weather, lightning, thunder, pouring weather. Yo, I'm a go-getter, try to do it like me, but I do it better. I got a mind that's clever, the beast inside is competitive as ever. I'm conscious, my subconscious, an accomplice to me. I promise the darkness, I can honest believe. But don't cross me, I might lose control of the lost beast. He's locked away inside with the key control by fight or flight. And this world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? We are back. Happy holidays. I guess it's post-holidays now. We've got one left, the new year. It's great to be back with you guys streaming for another Legacy After Dark. I've actually got a really exciting thing planned for you guys tonight, and I'm just super pumped to be back with you all because, quite honestly, and we've talked about this before, right? Legacy After Dark is not a new thing. We used to do it And then like Livin and I, we were focused so hard on content that like the stamina just wasn't there, right? When you're writing, editing, playing, all of the things, it's hard to do streaming on top of that, especially part-time. A lot of folks don't know that Livin and I are part-time. We've got an awesome team around us with Schmo and Apollo and Thick and Nas. Like, the dudes are awesome, right? But truly to try and do it all is very hard. So it's really great to just do one stream a week where I kind of can come up with a game plan either before the stream or over the course of the week with the subreddit. And then I just have a ton of energy to just bring you guys and be excited about streaming, talking about games, all the things. So if you're here to check out the stream, let me know in the chat, say hi, because we do have a pretty cool thing I want to do with you all tonight. And we actually are going to kind of get right into it because, guys, 2025 is right around the corner. It is right around the corner. So I took a few minutes to build out a tier list. And I'm going to make my camera just a little bit smaller here just for the purposes of today, because I built out a tier list based on the top 25 games that we covered on the channel. We released that video, I don't know, a month or so ago. I added a couple other games in there. But today, for this stream, I want to look at all of these games, and I want to put them on our tier list of kind of hype factor, right? Obviously, we're not reviewing these games. We're not rating these games because they're not out yet. But we know a lot about a lot of them. And myself and Livid, if you're on the stream, feel free to chime in if you disagree with me or why you guys, think something should be in a different spot. I want this to be fun. I want this to be interactive because, quite honestly, one of the things that I think I do better than most folks that cover games is I really know what the landscape of all of the games coming out are. And that's because, we do a monthly gaming video. I'm constantly looking on SteamDB for what's popping out. There's not a lot of indie games on here, and that's definitely something that I want to do better next year is identifying those big indie games, the Dave the Divers of the indie world for 2025. Right now, there's not a lot of them. The ones that I've seen, I'm just like, I'm not there yet. Indie games are silent and amazing, and that's kind of the beauty of them, right? They can come out of nowhere. You never really see them coming, and that's kind of the fun of an indie game. You guys know that when I started the channel, my channel way back in the day, the Game Gurus, Dead Cells was the first game that I covered. I have a huge soft spot for indie games. There's some games coming out in January, a demo called Dune Crawl that we're writing about in the January video coming up. Super excited about that game. That is absolutely an indie game. I do need to add Split Fiction. You're right, Liv. Can I do that in real time? I think I could do that in real time. Liv, can you make me a 1,000 by 1,000 Split Fiction image, and I'll add it to the list here in real time. But anyways, guys, there's a lot of stuff on this list. I see there's a couple dozen of you hanging out with us tonight. I appreciate you. Travis, I see you in the chat, man. Remnant V-Rising stuff has been a lifesaver. I am so glad you liked that content, man. V-Rising, Livin and I had a ton of fun playing that game. And of course, we are we're not a channel that's associated with any one game, but man, if there's a channel that covered Remnant and has a huge passion for what Gunfire does, it's us. We love Tragic, we love the whole crew over at Gunfire, and we love their game, and hope to see something, a teaser of something coming out in the next couple years as to what they're cooking. So, Danny, love you, man. Thanks for dropping some fire in the chat. Appreciate you. And guys, let's get into this. And we're going to start top left, and we're just going to go down. Now, there's no real rules here, right? Like, I'm not making rules about this, but the key here is really simple. I wanted to rank these based on hype factor. And so some of these games, for me, right, tier lists are always incredibly subjective. For me, some of these are going to be super high up. They may not be super high up for you. That's just because it's maybe a game type that I like, or maybe I've seen something in kind of the pre-release stuff that makes me think this is going to be a really awesome game. All right? And there's going to be some you disagree with. That's okay. You can tell me in the chat. You can yell at me. You can tell me I'm an idiot. It's fine. I have some pretty thick skin. So, all right, let's start with Dynasty Warriors Origins. And at the bottom of the list here is honorable mentions. And honorable mentions is there because, quite honestly, hey, there's that Split Fiction graphic we needed. Hold on. Stand by. Let's do this in real time. I don't know how to get out of full screen mode. That's fun. Nope. Oh, boy. I'm stuck. There it is. Press and hold escape. Press and hold escape to exit full screen. There we go. We did it. Okay, let's add split fiction. That's an important one, guys. We got to add that one. From your device. There we go. Okay, now we got it down there. Now we're feeling good. Let's get it back into Zen. Let's get it back into full screen. And we'll start over. Okay, here we go. We're back. Dynasty Warriors Origins. This is not a game that, personally, I am that excited about. I used to watch my cousin play Dynasty Warrior, endlessly. Like, that was a game that he definitely grew up on, and I lived right next to my cousin growing up, so, like, that was a part of our, just my gaming education growing up. I got exposed to a lot of JRPGs, a lot of Bandai Namco games, a lot of Capcom games. That's just what he played. And as my older cousin, he was 4 years older than me, he was introducing me to a lot of things that I just quite literally had never seen, never played. Phantasy Star Online, like, he got me into that in the Dreamcast era. I never had any of those consoles to play. Like, I was a Nintendo kid. Like, that's all my parents let me have until I was older. So I got all of that exposure through him. I like the concept of Dynasty Warrior Origins, but there is nothing that I have seen in that game that makes me think it's going to be better than the last one, right? The last one did not do well, partially because, I wouldn't even say partially, largely because it's not a multiplayer game. You're a single soldier in this massive flood of enemies, 1v1000, right? Like, that's the whole premise of this game, and you can't play with other people. Like, that's part of the fun is, having your buddies with you as you're just kind of storming a castle. So it feels like a misstep for them there. Again, I'm not well versed in this series. Like, do not take me as an expert in this series. I just know what things I'm reading online and how that translates into game content. And quite honestly, people are not excited about Dynasty Warrior Origins in the same way that they would be, the game back in, 2005, let's say, when the game was really kind of in its heyday. So for me, Dynasty Warrior Origins is, it's bottom of the barrel. I'm giving it an F tier. I'm not that excited about it. I don't think it's going to do well. There's no hype for me personally. And again, this is subjective, right? Like, you guys can disagree with me. If you are super hyped about Dynasty Warriors Origins, that's fine. We're going to leave it there. All right. Next on the list is Hyper Light Breaker. I will tell you guys, Livid and I got a sneak peek of the game. We played for 2 hours with one of the developers. We are very excited about this game. Indie games, roguelike games, those are two things that I just absolutely love. And Hyper Light Breaker has been on our radar since it was revealed. And it was revealed a long time ago. It's just like one of those games that's just kind of been hanging out in the periphery. It hasn't really done anything, a trailer here, a trailer there, but we couldn't really get a full sense for what the game has to offer until we went hands-on. So we do have a preview video that's in the works right now. Thick, our editor, is hard at work putting that together. Like I said, we had 2 hours hands-on with the developers. It's a really fun game. There's a lot of cool pieces there. It needs more work. Obviously, it's dropping into early access, but the bones are so different than most other indie roguelike games that it's going to feel very unique in that space because, and this is not a secret, right? It is a 3D, action roguelike. You're jumping into this place called the Overgrowth. You are not confined to an isometric view or a side-scrolling view, which is very typical of these types of games. And it's an extraction type of game. So not only do you get the roguelite progression elements, dying is part of the equation, the overarching progression systems, but there's also an extraction component to the game that you need to consider. And I don't know of any other games in the fantasy genre that are doing an extraction roguelite like this. Obviously, there are other extraction games, but not quite like this. So for me, it doesn't rise to the S tier level. It's definitely an A tier. I don't think it's going to be a massive success in terms of just like numbers, selling millions and millions of copies. I think it's going to be a success with the people that play it. I hope a lot of people play it, and hopefully the development of the game during early access is really sound. It's a small slice of the game that's going to drop. I think it's January 14th. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they really need to keep building it out because there's something special there. It's just going to take a little bit of time in the oven to bake. But what's going to be there for early access is going to be something really enjoyable. Glezion, you're right. Mafia, I don't have a lot of experience with Mafia, but we could definitely add Mafia to the list. And Danny, Onimusha games. I did not play any Onimusha games. If it's the games that I'm thinking of, is that the White Fox that was just revealed at the Game Awards? It's not my cup of tea. I never grew up with it. I thought, honestly, at the Game Awards, it got way too much fanfare. I don't think, while yes, it is a beloved series, I get that. It's not a massive critical success. Doesn't have this massive cult following. It's just a game that's got a little name ID. So that's one for me that it doesn't really move the needle either way. It's not bad. It's not good. It's just there. All right, next on our list is Kingmakers. This was not on our top 25 list, mainly because I forgot it was coming out. Kingmakers, I can't remember when it was revealed. I think it might have been the Summer Game Awards, not the Summer Game Awards, the Summer Game Fest. It was sometime middle of this year. And as you can tell by the picture down there, the concept is wild. You are like this time-traveling soldier that goes back to the medieval period, and you have modern weaponry fighting against the soldiers, the foot soldiers of the Middle Ages. It is a wild-looking game. I think actually this merits, and I'm going to take us out of full screen. I think this honestly merits, for those who have not seen it, a quick Kingmakers trailer. A quick look at the trailer. 10 months ago. So this was revealed. Oh, look, early access window reveal 3 weeks ago. That's a minute 41. Let's take a look at this one. And then we'll get back to our tier list here. Because honestly, if you don't know about this game, absolutely should be on the radar. All right, here we go. Oh, what did I just do? I don't know what I just did. I clicked on something that popped up. Here we go. So you see the concept here, right? Modern weaponry, Middle Ages, plowing through guys.
You have 6 months to find Owain Glendur. 6 months to unite his people.
Tasers?
To conquer
What?
England.
Oh, there's building in this? That's new. The driving and shooting is crazy. And lots of cool physics stuff, too, which I really like. Dude, this car would be wrecked if it ran into horses like that.
Forever.
This is some, like, macro strategy stuff, too. Such a weird-looking game. Oh, a little airstrike action? It didn't actually give us the early access release window other than 2025, which is why it's on the list. But anyways, if that game does not just look to you like it would be some good, crazy fun, then I don't know what type of games you would consider fun. Because, like, that is such a wild premise. And I'm sure, like, yeah, it's good, dumb fun. That is the perfect way to describe that game. I don't think it's going to break any records. Like, the gameplay is funny, and it's interesting in the sense that it's ridiculous. Is it, like, award-winning gameplay? No. Like, you got guns against guys with swords. Like, you're going to mow things down, and that's going to have a shelf life. Eventually, that will get boring. There's enough cool stuff there that is at least interesting enough to jump into. right? You've got the RPGs, you've got the building elements of it, the driving elements of it. Like, there is enough there to like bite into and be like, all right, let me check this out. This kind of looks interesting. But like, is it going to rise to like game of the year status? No, of course it's not. That's not what dumb fun games do. So Kingmakers for me, we're going to bring it up to the B tier. I'm excited about it. I don't think it's going to be this like crazy successful game. I think what's going to happen with Kingmakers is that streamers are going to pick that game up. They're going to play it for their folks. It's going to have this like 2-week burst of fun, right? Because it's going to have social media buzz. It's going to have streamer buzz. And then it's just going to go away. Like, that's quite honestly what that game to me looks like. All right. I had to do it, guys. I had to put Subnautica 2 on the list. For those that know me, which I know not a lot of you guys know all of the things about me, but that's what these streams are supposed to do, right? Introduce you a little bit more to who I am as a gamer, a person, etc. I hate the open ocean. I hate any large bodies of water, whether it's a lake, whether it's a really big river, whether it's the ocean, even like large pools, like Olympic-sized pools that are really deep. I don't like them because I don't like the shit that lives in them. It is an absolute fear of mine. I don't have a lot of fears in life. That is one of them. I don't mind spiders. I don't mind snakes. I don't mind dark places. Like, I don't mind a lot of that stuff. I don't like bodies of water. So, Livid has on multiple occasions tried to get me to play Subnautica. I would never do it. I quite literally, like, I dove in one time. I played the game one time. I was in the starting zone, and I was, like, frozen with fear. Like, I was going back to my little capsule, like, every 5 seconds because I was so afraid of the game. Now, I will tell you, I have gotten better as I become a little bit more accustomed to, like, water in games. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but, like, I played Raft. I did enjoy Raft. I had a lot of fun with that game. But that was so simple because there was just a shark, and you could predict the shark, and you knew exactly what was happening with the shark. That is not the case with Subnautica, right? So Subnautica 2 is coming out in 2025. There is no shot in hell that I'm playing that game. None. Zero. Nilch. I will not be playing it. I want to make that very clear. And that's exactly why I put this honorable mention section on the board. Because there is no hype for me, but I know that that game is going to do really, really well. Like, Subnautica 2, people are excited about it. They want to see the game evolve. They don't just want more Subnautica. They've gotten that through the DLC. They want the game to evolve. And hopefully, they will do that with Subnautica 2. So if you are a Subnautica 2 fan out there, if you're somebody that has played the first game, like I have friends that have played hundreds of hours with the first game. It's a great game. There's no denying that. And I haven't even played it past the first biome, if you will. I know that. I'm not stupid. I understand how games work and what makes them popular. I will not be playing this game. And I'm sorry that if you were hoping that our channel would cover it, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Anyways, that's it for Subnautica 2. Kenny, welcome to the stream, man. Day is going good. Wish you the best for 2025 as well. Appreciate you dropping some words in the chat here. Yeah, Livid is the ocean guy. If we're going to play an ocean game, which I don't think we've ever actually covered really an ocean game, he's going to be the one to do it. That's just the reality of the situation. Okay, next up, let's talk about a recently revealed 2025 game, Elden Ring Night Rain. Do I really need to say that much about another Elden Ring game? You know, FromSoft are masters of their craft. They know exactly what they are doing. And for them to be dropping a co-op action roguelite in the Lands Between theme, if you will, right? We're revisiting the Elden Ring world, but slightly different. That came out of absolutely nowhere. I didn't see buzz about it. I didn't see rumors about it. I saw nothing. So for them to be coming out with that a year after the DLC, which was a year after the base game, is kind of crazy, right? To me, and I kind of know how, very, very minimal, kind of know how this works, is that they probably took an offshoot of the main team. They started developing this. They had a ton of assets already, right? Like, what I'm looking for is, what are the new assets in this game? What are they pulling in from other games like Bloodborne? And what sort of new content are they injecting into this game? I think of the team, I was the one that ended up staying on the Elden Ring bandwagon the longest. I covered the base game a little bit. It was kind of a little bit of a shuffle. And then I definitely covered the second game, right, the DLC. I'm really excited about Night Rain because I am, again, a roguelite guy. I love roguelites. It's just who I am as a gamer that speaks to me. I like the idea of dying, trying again, getting a little bit further, progressing, building up my systems, making smart decisions about the upgrades that I'm making. I'm currently playing through Darkest Dungeon 2 during the holiday because the game is out of early access. There's a lot of new content in there, and I'm loving it because I can't just roll through it. I don't want to roll through a game. Those days, those parts of my life are over. I want to actually think about the games that I'm playing. I want to a challenge. I want to overcome that challenge. That is what is rewarding to me about video games. And Elden Ring just checks off that box. So to add the roguelite element to it is awesome. And again, it's a co-op game, so like a team of 3, I think it's up to 3 players on your squad, your group, whatever they're calling it. You know, that's really exciting because it's different. It's more of the same, but it's still different, and that's what FromSoft does pretty well, right? They obviously have refined the genre of a Souls game, and they're tweaking the formula, right? Elden Ring tweaked the formula from Dark Souls 3. And they're going to continue to tweak that formula with every iteration of the next thing, whatever that next thing may be. So very excited about this one. For me, this is absolutely an S tier. I think everybody is going to be playing this one. Whether or not they stay on this game for a long time, that's what's most interesting to me. The roguelite genre is not for everybody, right? Some folks don't like this idea of playing, you get defeated, and then you start over. Right? Some people just like progress to continue from point A to point Z. And that's not what a roguelite does. You have to look at overarching progress, which is something that a lot of players don't enjoy. They want to put hours into a game. Let's just use the most basic example. Let's use a Call of Duty type example, right? You're playing multiplayer for hours on end. You're unlocking new weapons, new skins, whatever it may be. You're unlocking one piece of the puzzle at a time. And you're constantly feeling like you're getting closer to whatever your goal is, whatever that may be. A roguelite is not like that. You have to see the forest through the trees, right? You have to understand that your death, while sucks, you know, it's not fun to die, you're still getting more powerful, even if it's a microscopic power gain. That is what the roguelite genre does. That's what the best roguelite games do. I mentioned Darkest Dungeon 2. That is what that game does incredibly well. Red Hook understands that power for a player can come incrementally, and the players that understand that kind of building block effect of getting a little bit more powerful equals more success overall, which I think is honestly really cool. All right, let's move on. That's enough about Elden Ring. The next game on the list, guys, Arc Raiders. We talked about Arc Raiders 2 or 3 streams ago, and this was a game that Livid and I had been super excited about, super duper excited about way back when it was revealed because it was really different, right? It was a really different concept for a game. It looked like an extraction third-person shooter. No, sorry, it did not look like an extraction third-person shooter. It looked like a third-person action-adventure game with kind of these robots that would roam the open world. Did not really have an idea of where they were going. We just saw these massive robots that we knew were going to prevent us from doing something. Then the game goes dark for like 2 years. They come back, and now it's an extraction shooter. And that's okay, too. A PvEVP game is not a bad thing. I don't think there has been a very successful PvEVP extraction-style game to date. I understand that there are elements of that are now in games like Fortnite and PUBG. I understand that. But what I'm talking about is a game like The Cycle, right? Many of you probably don't even know what that game is. But a true PvEVP game that gives you the opportunity to be objective-oriented while also still having the opportunity to engage in PvP. That is something that I love. It's something that Livid loves. We constantly talk about a game, Last Oasis, here on the channel. Last Oasis was an MMO survival game set in kind of these desert worlds, and it was it wasn't extraction based, but it was PvEVP, right? Like you are in this massive open world, you're doing objectives that are self-imposed, right? You're determining what objectives you want to accomplish, but then there was always the opportunity for an enemy squad to come in there and wipe you off the map. Like that was a ton of fun. And I understand that Arc Raiders is going to be more squad based, more like, you know, small matchmaking based like design, right? You're not just going to be in this persistent open world, but it still has a really cool flair, right? It's got that robot flair. You've still got the PvE elements that I really enjoy in games, and you've got the PvP stuff, which I'm coming around on. You talked to me 5 years ago, I'm not a big PvP player. You talk to me now, and yeah, let's go. I'm ready to do some PvP. You know, we've played Marvel Rivals, we've played V Rising, we have played Last Oasis. You know, I haven't enjoyed some of the more traditional survival or PvP games like a Rust, for example, but I'm still really excited to check out the new stuff that's coming that taps into both sides of the equation. So right now, Arc Raiders for me is a B. I'm not quite there yet because I haven't seen enough. I haven't gone hands-on with it. I am very excited about the game, but I'm not quite there yet because I just don't know enough. And that's on them, right? Like they've done a bunch of play tests. It's on them to really walk this game out and showcase it to the crowds because it's got no name ID. Arc Raiders means nothing to nobody. It could if they roll it out the right way. They've got a lot of work to do on that front. Hopefully they're smart about it, but I'm excited. I'm just not ready to put it up in the upper echelon quite yet. Ghost of Yotai. This is the next one on the list. Obviously, this is the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. I, unfortunately, have to put this one in honorable mention because I am not a PlayStation guy. I put it on here out of respect for the Ghost games because obviously Ghost of Tsushima was amazing, critically acclaimed, all of those things. I have no doubt that Ghost of Yotai will be just as good, but for me, I don't know enough about the series, now that it is a series. I don't know enough about the game itself because I don't follow PlayStation exclusives. I don't necessarily like the exclusive battle between PlayStation and Microsoft. I think games should be for everyone, no matter, you know, who develops them. I would love to play that game. I would absolutely love to play a game like that, but quite honestly, it's just not in the cards because I'm not going to buy a PlayStation. I have no place for it. I mean, there's a lot of factors. I'm excited about that game for the people that are interested in the Ghost series, but for me, it's an honorable mention. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just there out of respect for what the game could be, of course, but also, you know, what Ghost of Tsushima did for the PlayStation community. All right, next on the list here, I'm really excited about this next one. If you have not checked out Hell Is Us, then you are not doing yourself enough of a service because Hell Is Us is one of those kind of strange third-person action exploration games that I am quite honestly really intrigued by. And I use the word intrigued specifically because it's so different, right? It's based on a novel. I'm trying to think back to all of my research of this game. It's based on a novel. It's not based on something that a lot of players have exposure to. It's not got, you know, these iconic characters in it. It doesn't have gameplay that is necessarily, you know, like rote. Like people don't know all of the things about this game going into it. It is very much an enigma, which is why I use the word intriguing. So I am going to bring us back over to YouTube really quick because I do want to showcase the Hell Is Us trailer for those who have not seen it, because I genuinely think you guys who don't know about it, you need to. So we're going to watch the short one here, the extended or the gameplay trailer. There is an extended gameplay trailer if you are looking for more on this game. If you don't know about Hell Is Us, you're about to. You're about to find out in real time. So let's check it out.
I don't remember when it happened, but I remember how I felt. Father
Super
told
creepy
us to
dystopian
hide when
vibes
he
right
came
off
to
the
our
bat.
house. Then they took him away. Mother said I couldn't play outside anymore. Everyone had fled. She said the country was sick, but we would be okay. Mother always said monsters didn't exist. I thought they lived under my bed. We were both wrong. They live inside our heads.
Really awesome looking game. You guys are going to kind of see some of the melee combat, some of the drone action. It's weird, right? So that's Hell Is Us. I really think it's a promising looking game just based on the few trailers that I've seen. Again, that 15-minute extended gameplay is out there. So if that is a game that is interesting to you, it definitely was to me, right? When I was doing my research for the 2025 video list, I was looking around at all of the different games and I'm like, man, Hell Is Us, like, what is this game? I have no idea. I started watching the trailers and I was just instantly hooked. Yeah, Liv, I think it does, because it's definitely that kind of new weird, right? Like Once Human really kind of brought that into the mainstream. This continues that exact kind of like subgenre, right? It's a third-person action game, but the thematic elements of it are incredibly strange. It's very Control-esque, right? There's things about this trailer where you look at it and you go, oh, that's Control, right? Like the red polygons, even like the faceless creatures here. Control, Once Human. And then, of course, there's so many different, dystopian games out there now. I see Fox in the chat saying Plague Tale. Yeah, there's definitely some Plague Tale like vibes to a game like this where the world is in collapse and, you're either the lone survivor or one of a few survivors, and you kind of have to navigate all of it, all of the chaos. So when I saw this trailer, I was immediately invested in Hell Is Us. Again, I think, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember if this one is a PlayStation exclusive. This is one that, unfortunately, if it is, I won't be able to play until it comes to PC. But in terms of the game itself, I am really excited about this one. Again, because, I don't know, like, I'm somewhere here. This is definitely, like, if C is our mid, right? It's definitely above a mid-tier game based on everything we've seen, right? We talk about this in our reviews all the time or our preview videos. When developers show off the things that they're doing ahead of launch, it means they're highly confident in their game. They have a 15-minute extended gameplay clip out there for this game. Like, they're confident in this. It looks awesome. The kind of just like all of the thematical elements of it, the action itself, the third-person action combat with the emphasis on drone and ethereal weapons, like it all really gets me. I don't think it's up here. Like it's not there for me, but I'm hyped about it. Definitely more than mid. So we're going to give it a B. I'm feeling this row right now. Like these three games I'm excited about. They could go one of two ways, right? They could be great long-term games, or they could be like, play it for a couple of weeks, and then it kind of falls by the wayside. I think all three of those games fall into that category. Hell Is Us is definitely one of them. Obviously, as a single-player, narrative-driven game, that's a little bit different than Arc Raiders, which is an extraction-based multiplayer game, and then Kingsmaker, I keep saying that, Kingmakers, which is, more of a dumb fun game, as Livid said. So you have three different types of games here, but I think they all fall into that category pretty nicely. All right, checking in with you guys. George, Ghost of Yotai needs S. Come on. Look, man, again, it's a game that I just don't know enough about, right? It's a game that I'm not going to get the chance to play because I don't have a PlayStation. And, yeah, it looks incredible. Ghost of Tsushima was a critically acclaimed game. It's just not a game that I'm going to get the opportunity to play because I don't have a PlayStation. I could buy one, right? But like it's not my jam. I'm a PC guy. You know, I'm at the battle station. That's what I like. I love my Steam Deck. Like that's the world that I want to live in. And if they want to have, you know, exclusivity wars over these types of games, then, you know, they're missing out, right? They're missing out on sales by having, you know, these dumb exclusive, you know, titles. Fox, good to see you in the chat, man. It's been too long. I know you still keep in touch with Livid about Star Citizen, but it's good to have you back in one of my streams here hanging out. All right, moving on to the next game on the list, Mecha Break. Now, full disclosure, I am not a mech guy. I am just not. Whether it's Armored Core, whether it's Gundam, whether it's, I don't even know any of the rest of them, Ender Zone. Is that one of them? Maybe Liv? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But I'm not a mech guy. Livid is the mech guy of the two. He played Armored Core 6. And the thing here, though, is that Mecha Break looks really impressive. And we're going to jump back over to YouTube quickly so I can show you one of the trailers. Because if you have not seen a trailer for Mecha Break, like, it looks like it could be a cut above the rest. Let's see here. What's probably the best? Yeah, let's do the official world premiere gameplay trailer. One of the cool things about the game is the amount of customization of your mechs. You can quite literally do whatever you want with your mech. You can make them into whatever you want. It's really impressive. So just take a look at this with some fresh eyes, because that's what I did. I'm not a mech guy. I went into this with an open mind, thinking to myself, okay, maybe I'll check this out, right? If Livid plays it first and says, hey, this is a really great game, you know, because of X, Y, Z, I'm probably going to try it. I'm not saying no right off the bat, just because historically I've not been a mech guy. But honestly, you see this, and you'll see it in a second, I promise. You see this and you get excited because of how damn good it looks. So let's just check this out together.
Switching to phase 2. All units, enter DEFCON 1.
Pilot proceeding on board. Synchronization at 83%. Injecting EIC particles. Launch control is all yours. Target acquired.
I mean,
Target.
cinematic AF for one, but also just breaking down each of the mechs and looking at their customization. And look at this gameplay. Like, it looks really cool. Even I have to admit that. And I am not a mech guy. I will say that until I am blue in the face. That's a big boy. I mean, epic boss battles. You got tons of customizations with your mech. The gameplay looks snappy, right? Like the flying and the movement, which is a huge part of any mech game, looks really crisp. You could argue that the UI is a bit much, but I think folks that play these types of games like that. They like feeling like they are truly piloting one of these machines. I mean, I don't know, guys. Again, I am not a mech guy. I will say that till I'm quite literally, you know, dead on the floor. But if there was a mech game that I was going to play, it might be this one. There's a lot of cool things that this game is doing. Visually, it looks fantastic. They're showing off gameplay. This was the official worldwide reveal, and they're showing gameplay right off the rip. They've got testing for this game already out there. They are not shy to put this game out into the wild. So, yeah, I mean, it's really cool stuff. Now, to get back to the task at hand, the tier list, again, this is subjective to what games I want to play. So don't take this as like this is going to be the best game of the year or not because of where I put this on the rankings. Mecha Break for me is a C. I'm not saying it's a C tier looking game. I wouldn't give it a 7 out of 10 on any sort of review because, one, I haven't played the game. Two, it's not about that. It's about just how excited I am to play a game. And I'm not that excited to play Mecha Break. I'm moderately excited because I know it's a game that Livid has been watching. He likes it. I'm pumped for him to find a game that he likes always. And maybe it rises to a B or maybe even an A after I play it. Maybe we can look back on the year and do a 2025 recap tier list. But for now, in terms of hype, it's a solid C. Danny, you saying I'm not alone in the exclusivity? Yeah, no, I don't buy consoles for exclusivity, man. Like, that part of my life is over. I just genuinely think, like, that part of gaming culture is over. Like, you look at SteamDB, and Livid just did this exercise because he's working on the February video. He just did this exercise. Every week, there are dozens of games that are coming out. It's not a matter of there are not enough games to play. It's that the best games should never be relegated to one console over another, right? Quite honestly, the developers are missing out on more followings, more money for them to pour into future projects by limiting their games to a console because of the, Sony or Microsoft saying, oh, we want more titles on our console. I get that, right? They want to win the fake console war, but like ultimately us as the end user, we don't give two shits about that. We just want to play good games. And sometimes those good games are hidden behind these dumb exclusivity walls. So I feel you, Danny. I'm 100% with you. Sonic Mania 999, thanks for dropping by the stream tonight, man. Appreciate that. At least 2 unannounced Switch games, Mario and one other, will join Metroid Prime 4 in the top 10 if Switch 2 hits its expected launch in Q2, Q3. Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff on Reddit about like all this crazy Switch 2 leaks. I haven't clicked on anything because quite honestly, I am very happy with the Steam Deck right now. Like the Switch stuff for me, it's cool. Don't get me wrong, but like I'm kind of past the Switch stuff at the moment. But yeah, I don't know why they can't get their stuff under wraps, right? Like Switch 2 should be a big reveal. I don't know why like they're giving away the secret sauce to these third parties that are building them, controller cases and stuff. Like that seems ridiculous to me. Like have your official launch and then hand over the designs. I don't know. I don't understand that stuff. Other than that, for announced games, 2025 looking pretty weak. Interesting compared with recent years. It's really fascinating. 2023 was huge, right? Because it was the last. Was it 20? Yeah, 2023 was a huge year. That was the Elden Ring year. There were so many good games in 2023 because all of the COVID work hit in 2023, right? We were in COVID in 2020. That first, I think 2020, 2020 we were in COVID. 2021 was kind of like fine. 2022 was weird. And then 2023 is when everything started to hit. So 23 was awesome. 24 this year, surprisingly good year, in my opinion. Black Myth Wukong, amazing. Like, amazing game. I had a blast playing that game. We covered quite a bit on the channel over the course of 2024. It did not have the same kind of long-lasting feeling that 2023 did, right? I felt like we played a game quickly and then we moved off it, right? Like Space Marine 2, awesome game, loved it. They did a great job with it. But, it kind of died off in a couple weeks. I think there have been some really good hits of 2024. Marvel Rivals is a perfect example of a late hit in 2024. I don't think this year was a bust. No way. I don't think this year was a bust at all. I think it definitely wasn't quite as crazy as 2023, but like there were some decent games in the mix. So I feel you a little bit. Joe W. Ghost of Tsushima coming to PC. Thank God, man. Thank God it's coming to PC because I want to play it. I want to play an awesome samurai game. Right? We've got Assassin's Creed Shadows on the list. We'll talk about it, but we haven't really seen that on the PC side of things. PlayStation fans, they're in their bag. They're getting all those games. But PC players, we don't really have that experience. We have, Sekiro, like if you want the Souls experience with a little bit of samurai. But other than that, you've got For Honor, right? That's on PC, but it's not the same. You guys know that. It's not the same. Danny, I've played over 100 hours of Path of Exile 2. First time I've played an ARPG game. Nice, man. That's awesome. You know, I talked about this a little bit on the channel. I think last stream or stream before that, stream before the holidays. I really want to play Path of Exile 2. Schmo, our boy on the channel, he's been playing it nonstop. He's got like a level 90 character. He loves it. I haven't gotten there yet. And because, quite honestly, it's an investment, right? We've been covering Marvel Rivals, having a great time covering that game. But to cover a game like Path of Exile 2 is really hard. Just to play a game like Path of Exile 2 is really hard. You have to invest a ton of time into it. I don't have that kind of time right now. I want to fire it up on the Steam Deck. That's where I think I'm going to play it because it makes the most sense for me. We'll see if that pans out. Who knows? But, yeah. Lexicon, thanks for dropping something in the chat, man. Good to see you back in the stream. GOT came to PC already? Oh, Ghost of Tsushima? I was thinking you were talking about God of War. Well, then I need to play it, right? That's the bottom line. I need to play it. James helped you 100%. Black Myth, appreciate you. Yeah, dude, you're welcome. I love that game. I cannot wait for them to release the next one. Whatever the heck they're doing next, I am all in. I love those dudes over at Game Science. I had an awesome kind of contact over there that was so good to us, gave us early access to the game. Just incredible team that really took a shot. You know, right? They're a new developer, and they're a Chinese developer. So they are a non-known entity over here in the U.S. They're not a Ubisoft. They're not an EA. They're not an Activision, a Blizzard. They're none of it. Nobody knows who this team is. They had a damn good game that looked freaking incredible. They sold 20+ million copies of the game, and we all enjoyed the heck out of it. It is a travesty that it did not win Game of the Year. I'm putting my mark down right now. It is a travesty that that game did not win Game of the Year. The fact that Astrobot won a game that is a console exclusive that didn't even sell more than 5 million. I think it sold 2 million copies. The fact that Black Myth Wukong sold 20 million freaking copies and Astrobot didn't even come close, not a half, not even a quarter of what Black Myth Wukong sold, and it didn't win. Absolute shame. Man, just absolutely stinks. Yeah, I agree. It's a masterpiece. Gemini 420, thanks for joining the stream tonight, man. We got any new free-to-play games dropping? I don't know. That's a great question. That's a great question. Yeah, Matt, I know that, man. Like, I get that. But, like, if you have played Black Myth Wukong for more than 20 minutes, you know it is a masterpiece. Because one of the things that makes them... Danny, dude, thank you for the $2. Appreciate you, brother. One of the things that makes Black Myth Wukong so special is that they barely recycle any elements. It is a unique and new game from start to finish. From the second you fire it up to the second you beat the last boss or the secret boss, it is completely unique. And, man, and honestly, it hurt. Like, as a player that sunk so much time into that game, covered that game. Like, look at the views on our videos. Millions of people watch those videos. Millions of people are not watching Astrobot videos. I get it. It was a good game. But I'm telling you, man, the Game Awards and kind of some of the BS in terms of Game of the Year, I don't know. It's a little weird. What I will say, though, is they got it right with It Takes Two. Right? A couple years ago, Livin and I, we were like, It Takes Two is Game of the Year. It's the best game out there because it is so innovative. It's amazing. Yeah, I don't know. The criteria for these things is so murky. That's part of the problem. If there was clear criteria, right? Think back to grade school, right? You had an essay due, right? I'm going way back in the day now. You had an essay due. Your teacher would give you a rubric, and that rubric would tell you how to get 100 on your essay. You need to do this, 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 and this. There is no freaking rubric in this world that we live in. It's the reason why we don't have a score whenever we review a video, or whenever we release a review video, right? We don't have a 7 out of 10, an 8 out of 10, whatever, because quite honestly, the rubric is different for every channel. I think collectively, we understand that a 7 out of 10 game is kind of like mid, right? But like an 8 out of 10 game or a 9 out of 10 game, Well, what's the difference between the two? And what makes a 10 out of 10 game great? Like, what defines a 10 out of 10 game? I don't know. And I think IGN has some, like, written explanation, but, like, that's one group. That's one group that's doing numbered game reviews, and there are how many millions of creators and magazines and publications that are all doing something slightly different. It's really challenging. All I'm saying, for Game of the Year, there needs to be some sort of criteria, and it needs to be transparent. That's all we're asking for. Just make it freaking transparent. How the hell did Astrobot win over Black Myth Wukong? I have no idea. I'm off my soapbox. I'm getting back to you guys down here where the gamers are, where we're playing games, we're loving games. I'm off the soapbox. Yeah, Balatro, I have it on the Steam Deck. I have not fired it up for more than 5 seconds. I am very excited to eventually play the game. I just haven't gotten there yet. I'm not a big poker guy, and I know it's obviously not a poker game. I mean, it is, right? But I haven't gotten there quite yet. I played a few hands, and I was like, all right, this is cool. It hasn't clicked for me quite yet, but that's because I haven't given it enough time. Any new racing games? I have no idea. Sorry, man. I'm not a racing guy. I genuinely have no idea. All right. Next on the list, I'm excited about this one. Next on the list is Outer Worlds 2. If you guys have not played Outer Worlds 1, the first one, then, boy. Guys, Outer Worlds is developed by Obsidian Entertainment. The guys that developed Outer Worlds have a lot of skin in the game in terms of Fallout New Vegas. They have a lot of experience in the first-person shooter RPG genre. And that's exactly what they did with Outer Worlds. It was an incredibly fun, smallish game, but it did everything right. Almost everything that the game did was a success. It just, for whatever reason, didn't really... It did really well. I want to be clear. It did really, really well. But it didn't ever find, like, that massive success that a game like an Elden Ring did. And I'm still a little confused by it, because we get so excited about a new Fallout game. We get so excited about any sort of game like that. And then a game like Outer Worlds comes out, and it does well, but it doesn't do gangbusters. In fact, I want to check this. I think this is an important part of what we're doing here tonight. I want to see what the historic... Let's see here. All right, so there's 441 people playing this game right now, so not a lot, right? At its peak, guys, 20,000 players. That is nothing. That is literally an indie game. That is a B-tier indie game. How this game only did 20,000 concurrent players is crazy. And yes, I understand. It was a Game Pass game. It was one of the earlier Game Pass on day one games. So we're not seeing a complete picture here on Steam. But it's still a little crazy to me that a game as good as The Outer Worlds didn't do better. So The Outer Worlds 2, for me, is going to be a continuation of what was so awesome about the first game. Crazy space weapons, narrative-driven, really good writing. Like, that cannot be understated here. The writing in The Outer Worlds was really good. There are not a lot of games that do good writing anymore, and that is sad to say. Right? You look back at a game like Dragon Age Veilguard. I really enjoyed the gameplay. The writing, for the most part, was terrible. Right? It was not good. The Outer Worlds understands the power of narrative in these types of games. These are almost throwback types of games. You're right, Kyle. It is a 7 out of 10 because of its aged engine. But the game itself was pretty solid. And I'm really excited, hopefully, for The Outer Worlds 2 to take a next step. Because 20,000 concurrent viewers on Steam, like I said, guys, is not good. Like, that's fine. But, like, in terms of commercial success, that's not good. Like, most, again, B-tier indie games reach that status. Obsidian knows how to make good games. They do. And they've got good gameplay. It's a fun concept, this kind of like zany space adventure. They just need to evolve and really market the hell out of this game. They need to make sure that people know that this game is out. And that has always been a problem with Obsidian. They do a little bit of marketing. They do a little bit of exposure. They need to do more. And here's the deal with Obsidian. They also have another game coming out, Avowed, next year. So it's going to get really hard for them to try and keep everything moving forward. So I'm not sure. But in terms of my hype, it's an A. It's an A. I'm excited about this game. I love the first one. I don't remember where Livid and I were when we were, like in the content creation space when the first one came out. I can't wait to freaking play and cover that game. I am so excited. I am confident it's going to do better than 20,000 concurrent viewers. I don't care because I just enjoyed the game. And I think there's a lot of fun things with the Outer Worlds that we never got to tap into because of, honestly, whatever reason. I don't remember what our reasoning was for not covering it, but they were an independent operation, and now they have Microsoft's backing with Obsidian, right? Obsidian is owned by Microsoft now, so there's a lot more that we could do. Hi Schmo. Yeah, let's see what story and writing low on the list for me. I get it. I understand that. I definitely understand that. But to be honest with you, if there's a team that knows how to do it, it's this team. Obsidian is really freaking good at this. Yeah, anyways. Kyle, I also like Dragon Age and no one else did, but okay. I liked it, Kyle. I liked the gameplay. I actually thought the gameplay in Dragon Age Veilguard was very good. I thought it got overshadowed by all of the nonsense that people were spewing about the game. And that's just the sad state of where we are in terms of like the gaming sphere. I understand that there are massive creators out there who have opinions about these games. But like, can we not be adults and just see through that for 5 seconds and appreciate all of the good things in the game? Like, it was a really good gameplay experience. I loved the action. I liked some of the quest. Yes, they had some really bad story moments. They did. Like, we can say that and still enjoy a game. They also reused a lot of elements. I did not like that. All of the dragon fights were exactly the same. Like, that stinks. And Lexicon, dude, you're that's it. Culture War overshadows everything, and what Livid and I and the rest of the guys have tried to do is make that never a factor in our channel. And I hope that's why you guys are still with us, because quite honestly, I don't give a shit about that. I just genuinely don't. I don't care what people are saying on Twitter. I don't care if you have a grievance about the way that a character is portrayed in the game. I just don't. I just want to play a good freaking game. And I care about the systems. We talk about systems in every single one of our reviews because that's who we are as gamers. We are systems guys. We want to know how a game works. Are they refining anything from a previous iteration? Are they evolving anything? Are they innovating? There are not a lot of games that are innovating now. And that's what I want to see more in games. I want to see a game that is innovating on something that came before it, doing something different. And so, yeah, anyways. Man, I'm on my soapbox a lot tonight. That's because of what's in this cup right here. And hopefully you guys are cool with that. All right. Let's get back to our tier list because we've got a shit ton more games on here. And unfortunately, I am not moving very quick tonight. I thought I was going to move quicker through this, but I am not moving quick at all. Next on the list is Borderlands 4. I am one of the crazy creators that cover Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. I thought that game was pretty fun, but Borderlands hasn't done anything different in, I don't know, a decade. Like, Borderlands, the formula does not change. I don't know why it doesn't change. I just genuinely do not understand why they are not trying to take that series in a direction. Let me rewind that. They took it in a direction. It was a terrible movie. Why they are not trying to take the gameplay and do something different and innovative with it is beyond me. And that's quite honestly what I want to see from this game, and I really hope they do it. Because the whole concept, I don't know. The whole concept of a looter shooter that is just like spitting out tons of loot is really exciting. But it was exciting when Borderlands dropped, not 5 iterations from then, right? We've had Borderlands 2, we've had Borderlands 3, we've had Borderlands, the Jack version. I don't freaking remember what it was called. Then we had Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. But, like, what are we doing now? It's like a decade past when the original game, it might even be further than that, when the original game came out, and we're doing the same thing. There's 4 different characters. Yes, they're going to have quirky personalities. The team has already said they're going to stop writing garbage, toilet humor. Great. Okay, we've moved into the adult sphere. That's fine. But, like, what are they doing with the formula that's making it different and appealing to players? Because if players just see that it's more Borderlands, the game is not going to do well. And here's the reality of it. If the game is an Epic exclusive, it's going to flop. I don't know if it is, because that's what this team has done. They just do everything to shoot themselves in the foot. And I don't know why. Because they have such a gold mine with the Borderlands series. But, like, oh man, I just don't know. Yeah, if it's an Epic exclusive, Matt, most people will pass. Nobody wants to play an Epic exclusive. They don't. And again, I don't know. The games are good, Kyle. I'm not saying the games aren't good, but it's the same thing over and over again. If you like the same thing over and over again, that's fine. If you wake up every morning and you have rye toast with butter and you like that, that's fine. But some days I want a pancake. Other days I want a waffle. I want Borderlands to be different. And I'm not saying it needs to be, I don't know. I'm not saying it needs to be, okay, throw out the rule book and go a completely different direction. I'm just saying they have so much more they could do with this series, but they resort to doing the same old, and that's what Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, I thought, was trying to do, right? It was a completely different spin on the Borderlands thematics, but the core of it was exactly the same. Endless loot. There was, like, the gold key nonsense for, like, the rift codes or whatever the hell they were called. I don't even remember, because it doesn't penetrate, because it's the same thing we have done time and time again. I don't know. Okay, so what does that mean? Borderlands 4, yeah, it's a D tier for me. It's definitely above Dynasty Warrior Origins, right? Like, that game for me, I have no interest in playing that game. Borderlands 4, I need to see more. I need to see more of what they're going to do with the game. I need to see all of the things that they're going to bring to the table. And I want to know right off the bat, what are they going to do that's different? And I hope it's a lot. I really do. Okay. Guys. Please do not hate me. Please do not unsubscribe. Please do not follow the stream. Please just don't shun me from all of your circles and all of your places. Grand Theft Auto. Oh, man, I'm going to get absolutely torched for this. Grand Theft Auto means nothing to me. It doesn't. I'm really sorry. I give no shits about Grand Theft Auto. I was never allowed to play it growing up, and by the time I could play it, I was past it. I just don't care. Like, I understand that it is this massive cultural phenomena type of game. Guys, I don't care. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I just don't care. And that's just where I'm going to leave that one. Because I know if I go into this anymore, I'm going to get absolutely torched by the few of you that do really like the game. And I see you guys in the chat. Lexicon, Brian, appreciate you guys. Like, I'm with you. The game is just not for me. And I said at the beginning of the stream, like, there are going to be games here that I just don't enjoy. And that is because I don't play them. And Grand Theft Auto is one of them. I have never in my adult life wanted to pick up a game and, like, go drive my cars through buildings, rob people. I don't know. Yeah, I know. I get it. Look, and I see it. I see the divide happening in the chat in real time. I understand what the appeal is. I understand why people like it. It's just not for me. I have always been, and this is important. I got to say this because this is important to me. I have definitely always been a more fantasy-driven person, right? Like, you look at the games on my list here, that just so far, right? You've got Elden Ring, Hyper Light Breaker, Outer Worlds, Kingmakers, Arc Raiders, Hell Is Us. What's the common thread between all of them? They're fantasy games. Like, they are definitely fantasy games. You know, I live life. I don't need to live a different life where I can shoot shopkeepers in the face and, you know, pick up a prostitute on the side. Like, it's just not my jam. I am a fantasy dude through and through. That's where I'm going to leave it. Grand Theft Auto 6, I will give it the respect of putting it in honorable mention, because I'm not going to put it up there in S tier. I can't do it. But I will put Grand Theft Auto down there because I understand what it's going to do when it does come out. I understand what Rockstar is like. I just get it, but it's not for me. That's all I'm going to say. I'm sorry, guys. I hope you're still hanging with me, hanging tough, because quite honestly, I don't have a dog in that fight. I think that's the bottom line. Moving on to Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. This is another one that I had to throw on the list mainly because, quite honestly, like, it's a Switch title. It's probably going to be a Switch 2 title. I don't know. Like, I like Metroid. I like Samus Aran, but like, the Samus games kind of almost fall in the Borderlands like vein for me. Nintendo doesn't do much with this type of game. They've done a lot to innovate in the in the Mario space, right? Like, they've tried to do a lot of different things with Mario. But Samus, they really haven't done much with. It's a Metroidvania or it's a first-person shooter. And this is going to be another first-person shooter, but like, even if you looked up Metroid Prime 4 Beyond right now, and you looked at all of the things that the game is bringing to the table, what it basically says, like, you can look at it, like, it's the bullets for like why you should play this game, is like, if you enjoy shooting aliens, if you like exploring alien worlds, like, what? Like, we've done that a million times over. What's making Metroid Prime 4 Beyond any different than any of the hundreds of other games that we've done that with? And this is always my problem with Nintendo. Nintendo used to be a massive innovator, right? Blizzard used to be a massive innovator. Now they just kind of do the same thing because they've got the name ID. And yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a fine game, but like, is it going to innovate? Is it going to change the way we look at the Metroid series? No. It's going to be another Samus Aran game where we're like, okay, that was fine. That was fun. Maybe it's a little dated, but like, they're not doing anything to move the genre forward. The first-person single-player adventure game. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like Nintendo, I hope Switch 2 is successful, and I really hope they start moving in a different direction. And by different direction, I mean just like trying to be innovative again. I understand that they want to tap into all of their franchises, right? Donkey Kong, Mario, you know, they branched out. Like, Peach has her own games now, and like, of course, you've got Mario Kart and, you know, Mario Party, and Yoshi's still, you know, a factor in things, and then you've got Pikmin, but like, what else are we doing? What else are we doing that's different? Because that's where I feel Nintendo has really just started to fall behind. And partially because they're all developed in-house, right? Yeah, Pikmin is hella underrated. Pikmin is like one of the best series that Nintendo has. Like, you freaking fight me on that one. I'm with you, Liv. Kyle, and I know we just disagreed on Grand Theft Auto, but like, I agree with you 100% here. Nintendo is just putting out remakes. That's all they're doing. And maybe there's a new idea. Like, right, Odyssey was a fantastic game. It was a completely different spin on something that Nintendo has done in the past. But yeah, I'm over the reskins. Like, don't tell me it's a new game when you change one base mechanic and, you know, maybe it's a different theme. Like, that's not new. It's just not new. Yeah, Nintendo, I'm not buying this one, man. I'm not buying it. It's an F tier for me. I'm not excited about it. You can come at me in the comments, but I don't think anybody is. I don't think there are any Metroid stands in the chat tonight that are going to come at me. So, it is what it is. Guys, if you have not watched Mouse PI for Hire, any trailers for this game, you are missing out. Every year, or every couple of years, let's say, there is a game that just looks so different and so incredibly unique that it's hard not to get excited about it. And Mouse PI for Hire is that game for me. If you can't tell by the tone of my voice, I am incredibly hyped for this game, and I want to show you why. Because quite honestly, I think this game is going to be the Cuphead of 2025. Not only because of its aesthetics, right? Obviously, it looks similar, but because it's a boomer shooter in the 1940s art style, and it just genuinely looks really freaking cool. So this is the gameplay trailer from a few months ago. You get a kind of a first-hand look at the first-person action here. And again, it's a boomer shooter, and it's supposed to look dated, guys. That's the point. But let's check it out together, shall we? Looks so good. I'm going to play this one up here too, just because that wasn't enough. I got to give you guys more of a taste
Ladies
than
and
that.
gentlemen, we have an announcement to make. In a brave new world, anyone can be whoever they want to be. And nothing says you more than a can of healthy spinach. Spike D, with its special secret ingredient. Kids, remember your 5 a day.
Little melee punching action. So good. Just so good. Yeah, if you can't get excited about a game like Mouse PI for Hire, quite honestly, like I'm in my era of a game needs to feel different, right? I want a game that can come into the fray and completely disrupt everything. And when a game does kind of art and gameplay together in a excellent way, then I'm paying attention. And that's exactly what Mouse PI for Hire is doing. It is a incredibly visually different game, right? No one is going to deny that it looks different than every other game out there other than a Cuphead. But it's a different game than Cuphead, right? We're talking about a first-person shooter. This is not a side-scroller. This is a first-person boomer shooter designed like I think it's almost like a 1920s game. I don't know if it's 1940s, 1920s, whatever it is, but it's got that old school cartoon art style. And of course, within that, what we're looking for are modern systems, right? So you have the tail lasso that I think we saw 1 second of that in the game, but then you've got a lot of that first person gunplay. The sound effects are incredible. There's not a lot of impact when the bullets hit the enemy, but that's kind of part of the aesthetic, right? So again, you've got art and gameplay coming together for this really interesting concept. We've seen a lot of the gameplay at this point. I actually want to know more about what is the thread that connects it all together. Because if we're just going into all of these missions just blowing things up and it looked like a lot of the same enemies, what Cuphead did so well was that every map was thematically different or slightly tweaked to be a new experience. Mouse needs to follow that same kind of formula. Mouse can't just be shooting a bunch of mouse guys, in the same map 50 times over. It has to be more than that. And that's what makes an art game so good, right? Like an art game has to really take stock of the fact that people are there to have an experience, not just play the game. And that's what's so unique about games like a Cuphead, hopefully like a Mouse. Because there are not very many games out there that truly approach games like an art like they used to. And most of the games that do it nowadays try and take some sort of political stance or cultural war stance, and it doesn't work. Mouse PI is not doing that shit. They just want to make a cool game in a different art style, but they have to realize that they're also trying to create this experience for players that is incredibly unique. So hopefully they take that seriously. I think they will. For me, this is a B tier. I don't know if it rises to the level of a Hyper Light Breaker or an Outer Worlds 2, but I am definitely excited about it, and we'll see. We will definitely see. Yeah, I think it's also coming to Game Pass on day one, which would be amazing. I think that's a perfect Game Pass game. I don't think it's necessarily going to do well on launch day. I think that's one of those games that's going to kind of permeate or percolate, I should say, over a couple of weeks. Yeah. Like I think that one will do pretty well over time. All right. I am doing a terrible freaking job getting through these guys. Next on the list is South of Midnight. I don't know how many of you actually know about South of Midnight. It is a third-person adventure game set in the deep south of the United States. That is not a concept that we have explored too often in games. This game looks incredible. I am so excited about this game. And again, it taps into what I love about games, fantasy. I love fantasy in my games. The art style is almost stop motion driven. It's very unique. And the gameplay itself is this cool combination of combat and magic with a ton of folklore baked in. What I think is going to be the low-key hit of this game is the music. Because when you think of the Deep South, you think of rhythm and blues. You think of that kind of soundtrack that can make you feel something. And I know that sounds highfalutin, but we just got done talking about games as an art. South of Midnight is not trying to be games as an art. Absolutely not. They're trying to make a really damn good game, but they're tapping into something that's not often explored in the gaming space. And I really think they're going to be successful doing that because the game itself looks really cool. They have not revealed a ton of gameplay. They have revealed enough gameplay to get me excited, and they've definitely revealed enough cinematics and music and thematic stuff to get me really interested in this game. South of Midnight, absolutely without a doubt, is an A tier for me. Now, look, I understand. I get it. Like, there are going to be conversations about it being a female protagonist, and I will tell you right here and now, I do not give a shit because, quite honestly, as I've said before, I want to play a game for the game. So let's not make the conversation about the character we're playing. Let's make it about what the game actually is, which is exploring something completely different than we have explored in many other games. Like, how many Milsim games, how many medieval games do we need before we try something different? I'm really excited about South of Midnight. I really am. I think it's going to be an awesome game. I think it's going to be a unique game, which is different in 2024, 2025. And hopefully it's a good game, right? Because ultimately it has to be a good game if they want to, penetrate. And they want to kind of capture a wide audience. Matt, I was actually thinking about that the other day. I was like, man, I feel like Xbox did a big event in January last year or this year, right? So I think they're going to do another event in 2025. And I think Fable's going to be on that list. And I know Fable's coming up. But we haven't heard enough about Fable recently. Yeah, Matt, that's what I thought, man. So I'm with you. I think they are definitely going to do something. They have a lot to talk about, right? They have how many freaking game studios at this point? So, yeah, I'm excited about that one. Guys, next on the list is it's getting late. I'm drinking. My drink is starting to hit me. I did not eat enough dinner tonight. Hold on. Give me a second. I'm with you guys. I'm with you guys spiritually and mentally. I just need to collect myself. Okay, I'm back. Next on the list is Slay the Spire 2. I recently got into Slay the Spire because I bought the Steam Deck, right? Slay the Spire is not a game that I would play on my PC because it is so tailor-made for a Switch or a Steam Deck, and it is so good. It's so good. If I wasn't playing Darkest Dungeon 2, which I'm currently addicted to, I play Darkest Dungeon 2 pretty much every night from like 11:30 to like 1 a.m. Like that's my like, you know, when I have free time game. I would be playing Slay the Spire because I have not gotten as far as I want to in it, but you can just tell. If you understand how a card battle game works and a roguelike game works, you know that Slay the Spire is incredibly well designed. And it's again, guys, it always goes back to the systems. What are the developers using as their building blocks for a game? Slay the Spire just understands that just so well, right? You've got your character, which has its innate qualities. Then you've got your cards. Then you've got colorless cards that maybe you get as part of the initial kind of foray into the dungeon run. Then you've got your rewards that you get at the end of every battle. Then you've got potions, the shop. Like, it follows a very similar formula to Darkest Dungeon 2, which is why I like it. It's very similar to Curse of the Dead Gods, another roguelike game that uses a very similar type of progression and pathing system. Slay the Spire is an incredible game, a full stop, period, exclamation point. I don't care. If you have not played it or you're just not into that genre, I urge you to check it out. I'm sure it's on sale right now as part of the Steam Winter Sale, but like, it is an incredible game. I will admit, I will not want to sit down at my computer and play the I will not want to sit down and play Slay the Spire 2 at my computer. I will want to play it on my Steam Deck because that is where it makes sense to play. I cannot wait to see what this team does. How are they going to evolve the base concept of Slay the Spire and make it even better? Because that's what Red Hook tried to do with Darkest Dungeon 2. They took their incredibly winning formula and they tried to evolve it. Is Slay the Spire going to do that with Slay the Spire 2? Or are they just going to do more of the same? Which is probably okay too. It's going to sound crazy, guys. It's going to sound crazy. It's an S tier. It's absolutely an S tier. And if you don't agree with me, you probably haven't played it or it's not your game. And that's okay. Because as I have said, this is a subjective list. This list is not going to be the same as your list. It is definitely not going to be the same as somebody else on the channel's list, Livid's list, or Schmo's list, or any of the guys. It's my list. And you can't tell me what I can put in the S tier. I'm telling you what I'm putting in the S tier. All right. Fable. Let's talk about Fable. We got to burn through this, guys. It's freaking 11 o'clock already. Holy crap. We got to burn through this. It's Fable is one of the games I grew up with. I remember vividly playing Fable, the original, for 6, 7, 8 hours at a clip. That was like, it hit perfectly. I was in like the prime of my gaming world because I didn't have any responsibilities. I had a part-time job. Like, it was the first time morality was a central part of a game, and it did it in a way that actually made you feel like your decisions mattered. Right? Not like the bullshit that we deal with now where your decisions like kind of matter, but like they don't want to offend you. So like your decisions don't really matter. No, like your decisions mattered in Fable. And say what you will about Peter Molyneux and Lionhead Studios. They understood that. And they took a wicked shot trying to bring that to people. But on top of that, Fable was one of the best third-person fantasy games that you will ever play. Ever. Period. I am incredibly excited, but also incredibly worried that Playground is taking over the Fable series. I mean, you're talking about a complete pivot from a team that makes Forza driving games, and you're giving them one of the most iconic fantasy game series of all time. That's really kind of concerning, right? Like, am I the only one that's a little worried about that? Because while I am incredibly confident that Playground knows how to make great games, I just don't know that they know how to make this type of game. Like, we very well could get the next game of the year from Playground. They know how to make great games. There's no doubt about that. They have made great games before. They just haven't made this type of game. So, I don't know. We haven't seen a lick of gameplay from this one. It's been cinematics. It's been like weird kind of like narrative things that like you don't know anything about this game. We know nothing about this game. But yet still, as I sit here today, December 29th, 2024, it's an S tier. How could Fable not be an S tier? How could this game that has quite literally revolutionized the fantasy genre not be an S tier? It's the same type of game as a Witcher, in my mind, right? It's up there, in the upper echelon of games that will forever live in my heart as one of the best. Yes, it had some weirdness as it developed, right? Fable is its own game. Fable 2 was good, but like less so. Fable 3 was like less so than the other two. But like Fable as a concept is incredible. And for them to bring it back, to hit reset, but to bring it back in a modern era, completely devoid of Lionhead Studios and Peter Molyneux, like, whew, I'm excited, guys. I'm excited about Fable. I cannot wait to play this game. Matt, if we are getting a January Microsoft event, if Fable's not part of that event, forget it for 2025. It's not going to be a 2025 game. But if we see Fable in 2025, I would be pretty confident that it's going to be a fall 2025 game. Actually, I won't bet anything because I don't know any of you guys other than like Livid and Schmo. But like I'll bet that this game, if it comes out next year, is going to be a fall 2025 game. And if not, I think we're going to see at least a year, like a trailer with like a, hey, it's coming out in 2027. But like, I feel like it has to come out soon. It's got to come out soon because it's been around forever at this point. It just hasn't gone anywhere. But yet we haven't seen any gameplay. So like, the team is going to put every considerable resource behind this. Like when it's ready to deploy, the marketing is going to be insane. You're going to see this game freaking everywhere. They're going to do everything to promote this game. They would not take the Forza team and put them on this game if they didn't intend to go full tilt into Fable. So, yeah, I'm excited about this one. S tier. Let's go. As Livid kindly reminded me in our DMs, I only have 16 more games to go. So I have to pick my ass up and get going here. I think this next one's pretty easy. Eternal Strand is a Shadow of the Colossus inspired third-person action-adventure game. There are magical elements to it, fire, ice, and telekinesis, I think. And then there are awesome, massive constructs that you have to navigate. Same way that you would in Shadow of the Colossus. This is an indie game that's dropping in January. It was on our January 2025 video list. If you watched that video, I am excited about this game. It is a B tier for me. I can't say that this is one that's like I've had on my calendar since day one. I'm excited to play it. I've never played Shadow of the Colossus. So like to get a piece of that in Eternal Strand is really exciting for me. And I hope the game does well because, again, it's an indie studio. We love indie developers on the channel. We want to support them and hope, quite honestly, that the game is a success so that they could continue to develop either a DLC, a sequel or whatever their next project may be. Look, I can get through these fast. Look at that. Can you link this rank in the description when I'm done? Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I don't know how, but I'll figure it out. Okay, next on the list. I don't remember which one of you was excited about Doom the Dark Ages. I'm excited about Doom the Dark Ages, and I'll tell you why. If you have not picked up on this in this entire stream, I am a fantasy guy. Wow, shocker. I know. But here's the deal. Doom is doing something completely different with this game, right? They are changing the theme. We are moving away from like the demons of space to the demons of the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, right? As the name suggests. And I'm just freaking pumped for that. I really am. Like, there's a Captain America shield. There's like weapons that require skulls to fire. Like, this is absolutely the different direction that Doom needed to be just enough different that it stands apart, right? And we talked about this. We talked about this with Borderlands. Like, you can have an awesome, iconic series and continually tweak the formula to do things that are different to make it feel relevant or unique in whatever year it's released. And that's what Doom the Dark Ages is doing. They are creating a new experience for players that's familiar, yet entirely different at the same time. That's what Borderlands needs to do. That's what Doom is doing. And that's why Doom the Dark Ages, this is tough for me though, guys. Like, I look at this S tier, again, for me, this is really hard. Because, like, quite honestly, I don't know if it rises to the Fable level for me, but that's again because I would rather play a third-person fantasy game than a first-person boomer shooter. This almost comes down to genre for me. So, like, here's what I'm going to tell you guys. It's an A tier for me, but it's the first of the A tiers, right? If, like, left to right, this is also matters, right? Top to bottom matters, but now let's say left to right matters. I'm gonna reorganize some of these, right? I'm gonna reorganize some of these. I think that's right. There we go. I think that's really accurate to where I am right now as a player. Because quite honestly, I'm really excited about Doom the Dark Ages, but it's not quite there that it reaches the Fable levels yet. We'll see. Because we don't know anything about Fable, other than the fact that it's Fable. I'm excited to play Doom the Dark Ages. There's a lot of cool elements to the game that I'm excited about. The chainsaw shield is like iconic in its own right, and I've never even used it. But genre-wise, it's not my favorite genre, which is why it just is an A tier. This next one's really easy, guys. Death Stranding 2 on the beach. I will tell you, it's an honorable mention for me, mainly because, again, I don't have a PlayStation. I can't play this game. I am not going to be able to play this game, but I will tell you that after doing some research for our massive 25 games of 2025 video, it definitely looks cool. I like the concept of Death Stranding, and like Kojima is very clearly a visionary in his own right. Like, Jeff Keighley's obsession with him aside, he knows how to make intriguing games. And again, I use the word intriguing purposely because Kojima games are always a bit odd. And Death Stranding 2 on the beach is certainly odd. Is that a game that's going to move the needle for me to buy a PlayStation? Absolutely not. If I had a PlayStation, would I buy that game for $70? Probably not. But, like, if that game came to Game Pass, I would play it. So, like, this is where the console exclusivity aspect of things really works against the developer. I am a potential player of the game, but, like, I'm not going to play it because I don't have a PlayStation, and I'm not going to pay $70 for that game. And I think we can just leave it there. I tried so hard to play the first one and figured out why everyone thought it was so good. Yeah, you know what, Sigma? Like, there are games like that, right? Like, there are just games like that. You know what was actually a game like that for me for a while? Was Hollow Knight. And I say that fully now, understanding how brilliant Hollow Knight is. But Hollow Knight took me 3 attempts before I actually appreciated the game. I picked it up twice and hated it. I didn't get it. I didn't understand why people loved it. But then on the 3rd playthrough, it clicked. And I was like, addicted. I cannot wait to play Silksong, right? To Livid's point, I have no idea where the hell Silksong is. Team Cherry, what are you doing? If you remember, Silksong was on a infographic that said, available in the next 12 months. This was 2 freaking years ago. That game is I don't know. Like, could you imagine, and we've been imagining this for years now, could you imagine if they do their January event and they reveal that Silksong's coming out in April? Like, that would be seismic. That would send ripples through the gaming world because Hollow Knight has that allure at this point. Matt, yes, I'm saying that the 3rd time is a charm. Twice I picked up that game and I didn't like it. 3rd time, hooked. Absolutely hooked. One of the best games I've ever played, period. Honestly, if there's a game that could get away with shadow dropping, it's Silksong. They could drop, and it would have 200,000 concurrent players in 24 hours easily. It quite honestly, it's a Black Myth Wukong type of game. It would do insane numbers because there's such a magic around the game at this point. There's such a fantasy around the fantasy. And Team Cherry, like, man, hats off to them. They made a great freaking game, and then they just decided to, like, reveal another game and then dip. Yeah, I was being a little conservative, Matt, but I agree with you. It would be 200,000 quickly, if not more. 400,000, 500,000. I don't know what it would be. It would be another Black Myth Wukong, right? You'd see the reports, Silksong sold 1 million copies in 24 hours. Oh, Silksong sold 10 million copies in a week. It would be one of those games. It would be a commercial success for a team that understands the Metroidvania genre, and, they made a damn good game the first time, and there's no doubt they're going to make a damn good game the second time. Next on the list is Crimson Desert, and this one is weird for me, and I'm just going to come right out and say it. This is a C tier for me because, quite honestly, it's a little too much for me. Like, I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but, like, I have not seen this game and been like, oh, I have to play Crimson Desert. Like, it's fantasy, but, like, then there's, like, weird shit in there. And that's the only way I can describe Crimson Desert, right? Like, I'm sure it's going to be amazing, but, like, there's definitely elements of, like, kung fu in there, and there's some, like, weird, trippy fantasy stuff in there, like islands in the sky that are not, like, high fantasy Zelda islands. I don't know. The game itself has not sold me, and that's part of the problem. I have not seen enough of Crimson Desert that I'm like, I want to play this game. I need to play it right now. It's just like, okay, it looks really snappy. It's an Unreal Engine 5 game, I think, and it looks really good. But what am I seeing that? I don't know. I don't know. There's just, for whatever reason, the rollout of this game has not done anything for me, and I just need to see more. You know what it is? I want to see more targeted. Okay, here we go. I've got this. I'm thinking about it in my head, and I think I understand. When a game releases, or when they're on the road to release, there is, like, the tried and true method of, like, okay, here's your reveal trailer, and then here's your world trailer, and then here's your gameplay trailer. Crimson Desert is so expansive in, like, what they're trying to do horizontally that they're not doing a good enough job explaining to players what you actually do in the game. You just see a lot of action. And like action is cool, but like 2024, 2025, we need more than that in our games. And that's where I feel like Crimson Desert is slightly dropping the ball. You guys are talking about sword and board in the chat. Like, yeah, that's because that's the only thing we've seen of the gameplay. Like, I want to see more of what the heck we're actually doing in the game. Like, because what their style is like, you know, one line of dialogue from a cutscene, and then, oh, crazy action scene, punch, 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 slap, 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 you know, sword smash, whatever. And then, like, another line of dialogue. And then, like, oh, crazy, you're flying through the sky. Oh, my God, things are crazy. Everything's flying across the screen. Okay, another line of dialogue. So, like, that frenetic trailer rollout does not do anything for the player. It doesn't explain the game. It gives you glimpses of, like, what's happening. But, like, what is the game? What are we doing in the game? And that's what I think Crimson Desert has been since it first popped up on the radar. You're right, Sigma. Like, you're right. That's how all Southeast Asian games are marketed. And that's the problem. That's why Final Fantasy, for me, does not click. It doesn't. Because it's like it's so funny. It's like orchestral music, right? Like crazy orchestral music, and then like one line of dialogue from a clearly overly hot character in the game, and then like crazy sword slash, dragon fire, like shit all over your screen. And like it's the same thing in that series. The only thing that Final Fantasy has that Crimson Desert doesn't is a long-standing track record and name ID. So, like, Crimson Desert will do fine because I think it has a big enough following from Black Desert. There's something to be said about the action. But, like, tell me what the game actually is. What are we doing in the game? That's what I need to know. All right, next on the list is Judas. I don't think a lot of you guys know what Judas is. That's my guess. Judas is the newest game by Ken Levine's new studio. And Ken Levine is the former creator, correct me if I'm wrong, of BioShock. And Ken Levine understands this genre so incredibly well. Judas is a game that I cannot freaking wait to play. I love BioShock. BioShock Infinite is one of my favorite games of all time. It is a top 5 game for me. I know that that is a hot take. BioShock Infinite was not a lot of people's top game. But for me, it was the perfect blend of action, storytelling, and immersion. I vividly remember, like, guys, this is like my game. Oh my gosh, my game. The first scene of the game, you're in a plane crash, and you're swimming across the water, and you get to this lighthouse. You get to the top of the lighthouse. Everything is... You're just like soaked into like what the heck is going on, what is happening in this world that I'm in. You're climbing this lighthouse, you sit in this chair, you get trapped, and then you shoot like a rocket into the sky. And then for anybody that's played Infinite, it's the same feeling. You ascend past the clouds, and there's like scripture or something happening in the background. It's either like gospel music or scripture. You break through the clouds, and then the voiceover just goes, Alleluia. And, like, you see the world in front of you. As a gamer, it was one of the most transformative experiences of my gaming life. It was. And I get that not everybody had that same experience, but for me, oh, man. Like, I loved everything that Infinite was doing. They were taking, oh man, they took on Culture Wars before Culture Wars was a thing to talk about, right? Like there were themes of racism within the first hour of that game that they were tackling. There was class warfare in that game, and they did it in a way that always felt incredibly fantasy. But like there's a whole mission where you're going through a museum of U.S. culture, and you're like, holy shit, we were barbarians. We were absolutely blood-hungry barbarians. And the way that they parallel that with the gameplay that's going on was brilliant. It was brilliant. And I loved everything about that game. So for Ken Levine to be coming out with another game, because let's be honest, guys, there is no game like Judas right now. The first person like sim game, immersive sim, does not exist right now. Deathloop was the last one from the Arcane guys. And I love that game, but like that genre just doesn't exist very much right now. So for them to be releasing Judas, I really hope they put enough dollars behind the marketing. I want people to know about this game. I really hope we get a shot at playing the game. If anybody knows Ken Levine, freaking hook me up, because like I want to play this game. I want to bring it to the masses because I am super excited about this one. And yes, Matt, I agree. Clockwork Revolution is absolutely a BioShock Infinite BioShock Infinite ripoff ever. Deathloop was the most indie title to ever come from a AAA studio ever. That's really funny, man. Deathloop was not for everybody. And here's where I run into like a little bit of a conundrum. I want developers to push the boundaries. I want developers to try things that are different, and Deathloop tried to do that. There is no game like Deathloop. There is none. None, period. There is no game like Deathloop. And it did not do that well, right? Like, people didn't understand it. They definitely didn't click for, like, the lizard brain folks out there. I freaking loved it. I thought it was awesome. But I get it. And, like, the Arcane guys, I can't remember if Arcane Austin was the one that developed that, and I can't remember if that's the studio that shut down recently. But, yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Sigma. Like, too innovative for a AAA game. I get it. Because it definitely wasn't for everybody. But yeah, they did shut down. Oh man, that's a freaking shame. Not Austin? Oh, it was Leon, not Austin. Okay. All right, good. Yeah, because that was Arcane Austin, I think. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Anyways, Judas, guys, for me, it's an S tier. If you are a BioShock person, if you have played and loved the BioShock games, like I have, it's an S tier. So, Austin shut down, but Leon developed. Thank you. Austin was the one who made Redfall, right? I think Austin was the Redfall team. Leon was the Deathloop team. And, yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, Judas for me is an S tier, guys, because, you know, again, there's no immersive sims out there right now. And, Ken Levine, he knows. Oh, Leon was the Dishonored team? Yeah, man, come on. You can't shut them down. Honestly, I'd be surprised if they didn't bring Dishonored back, right? Because Arcane is now in the Microsoft bubble. If Microsoft is looking at all of their properties, they're going to look at Arcane and be like, okay, what was your most successful game? Okay, yeah, it's Dishonored. Bring that back. Yeah. Yeah, I think Dishonored's going to come back. Anyways, next on the list is Atomfall. We talked about Atomfall on the channel a couple streams ago. It's a Fallout-style game, and it's definitely a game that is trying to be something that has come before, but in a slightly different way, right? Like, it's taking place in Europe in more of like a British humor style type of game, but it is a post-apocalyptic type event. Let's say post-cataclysmic event game, open world where you're exploring. There are elements of horror and kind of like, not horror in the sense of like scary monsters, but like shock and awe. And so I really like the idea of I really like the idea of Atomfall, right? Like there have not been consistent Fallout games other than like Fallout 76, which like at this point, like you're either in or you're out. So like there is definitely a void for a game like Atomfall. But after watching the gameplay trailers, and like guys, you can go watch the gameplay trailer that's out there. It's a little janky. It doesn't feel polished, and that's what gives me a lot of concern about it. Because you look at some of the gunplay that's in the game, and it just feels really rigid. And that's my biggest concern for Atomfall, is the gameplay itself. Because quite honestly, Themes can only get you so far. Having a cool concept can only get you so far. You have to have a damn good game to, you have to have a good game. That's the bottom line. So Atomfall for me, I'm going to keep this one simple. It's a C. It's a high C, though. It's a high C. It definitely doesn't rise to this level of game for me. It's here. It needs to showcase a lot more if it wants to break into this upper echelon. Next on the list is The Alters. If you know me, you know that I love 11-bit studios. I am obsessed with Frostpunk, the first game. I tried to get into Frostpunk 2. I don't know. Frostpunk 2, it stepped away from what made Frostpunk amazing. And so, the game, the sequel was not as good, in my opinion. That's not because 11-bit didn't make a great game. It's because they took a different direction. And as I have already said, developers that try and go a different direction, I will always commend them for that because they are taking a massive risk, right? You think about how many video games are out there, how many video games release on a weekly basis. For developers to take real chance is rare. So you have to commend them when they do that. And I don't think enough people do that when it comes to games. We look at these games and we say, oh, it's not something I'm used to. Screw that. I'm not playing it. The Alters is trying to do something incredibly unique. It's a third-person adventure game as well as a colony sim. And if you have not checked out the Alters trailers, I implore you to do so. I would pull it up right now, but it is incredibly late, and I still have 3, 6, 9, 10 freaking games to get through. The Alters is doing something different, and I have to applaud the 11-bit guys for doing that. So, in one regard, you're scouring this alien planet trying to find resources, right? Because you're on this planet, you're the only one left alive, and you have to survive. On the other hand, you have this colony sim element where you're making clones of yourself, and all of those clones have different skills and personality traits. So you're managing that in the colony sim aspect of things. It's a really unique concept, and I really like it. Is The Alters going to be this massive critical success? No. It's not going to have 1 million concurrent players ever. It is going to be a low-key hit, and that's just what it is. And that's more of a genre thing than anything else. There are just genres that do better than other genres, right? And this is one of those that might just be a step beyond for that most players to wrap their head around. Sigma mentioned it before in the chat. It's too innovative for a AAA game. The Alters may fall into that trap. It may be too innovative, too different for players to truly appreciate. For me, however, I'm excited about this game. It's right up here with Mouse PI. It's right here. Arc Raiders is absolutely my B-tier game that I want to play. Without a doubt, I will be playing this with Livid and the boys. We're going to love it. We're going to cover it. The Alters is one of those games I could see us doing a review on, right? Same thing for Mouse PI. Definitely going to play it. Probably going to review it. Do I go beyond that? I don't know. I just genuinely don't know. I'm excited about it. I just genuinely don't think that it's going to have that mass appeal that, a game like a Fable or a Doom would have. I threw this next one on here, Dragonkin the Banished, because it was on my 2025 video. If you watched the 2025 video, you saw this game. It's an ARPG, and honestly, I like it, ARPG games. I do. I haven't played a ton of them over the past couple of years since we started the channel, but Lost Ark really transformed the way I look at ARPGs. I played a little bit of Diablo, of course. Path of Exile I never really got into. I wish I could. I wish I had the time to. I wish I could just freeze time and play them. ARPGs require a huge commitment. Dragonkin the Banished looked like a very competent ARPG that taps into dragon themes. So if you're interested in that, I think the game is going to be decent. It almost falls into the Wolcen category for me. we covered a little bit of Wolcen here on the channel. It was still when we were kind of trying to find our feet as creators. And so, like, it's on here almost as like a, all right, we had it in the other video. We kind of had to include it. I wouldn't say it rises to anywhere in this mid to upper echelon. It's a D tier for me. And that's out of respect for, like, the fact that it looks like a decent game. Maybe it's going to be a decent game. But, like, they've got a lot of proving themselves to do. And, again, if you're looking for a new ARPG in 2025, if, like, the PoE allure has, you know, faded at that point, I think Dragonkin's coming out in February, which is already a crazy stacked month. So it's somewhere in the first quarter, I think. Maybe it's March. I'm not sure. It's a cool-looking game. You might like it. You might not. And that's fine. Okay, this one's going to ruffle a few feathers. Monster Hunter Wilds. We have been talking about this game internally for a while now. And Livid and I are both not Monster Hunter guys. We have never played a Monster Hunter game in any real capacity. We've never covered a Monster Hunter game. I have now tried to play Monster Hunter World 4 times. I tried firing it up last night. I got through one thing, and I'm like, man, this just feels antiquated. It feels so old. Like, I don't understand what the appeal is. So I need one of you guys in the chat to help me understand what is the appeal of a Monster Hunter game. Because conceptually, I get it. You're going out there, you're taking on these big-ass monsters. Like, it's really cool. But, like, when you actually play the game, you're met with a UI that's from the early 2000s and gameplay that is incredibly rigid, and it plays like a fighting game. So, like, if you're not used to that, like, you have to memorize combos for different effects, and, like, I don't know. It just doesn't click for me, and I want it to. I really want it to, and I don't understand how to make it click for me as a player. But, like, we have guys, we talked about Gunfire Games before. Tragic, our buddy, who developed Remnant 2, he's obsessed with Monster Hunter. Like, that's his game. So, like, there's something that's just not clicking for, I will say, myself and Livid. Right? We're both in kind of the same boat. Because we really want to cover it in February. But we don't want to cover a game we don't enjoy playing. Right? Like, that defeats the purpose of having the channel. So there's something about Monster Hunter Wilds that I'm hoping they take a step forward in terms of the player accessibility. I want the game to feel more accessible to players. The early game experience is fine, right? They walk you through everything in World, and, like, you understand all of the basics, but, like, the game is just not fun. I want it to feel better. I want it to feel like a modern game, and that's what's missing. It's got a cool concept. It's one of the only games that does what it does. I just haven't gotten there yet. And that's disappointing, right? Because obviously, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Monster Hunter is a terrible series. No freaking way. Monster Hunter is beloved, and I get that. And clearly, there's just a missing piece for me, which stinks. I really, really want to love the entire series, but I'm not there yet. So, I'm not even going to put it on the list. Out of respect for what the game is, I'm putting it right here. It's the first honorable mention because it's the one game on this list I want to love, but I'm not there yet. And it doesn't deserve an F or a D, no freaking way. But, like, I am not there yet as a player of games. I just can't get there. So, yeah, there's something that's not clicking for me, and I get it, guys. You're going to feel completely different in the chat. That's fine. I totally get that. But that's just where I'm at as a gamer, right? Yes, we make videos. Yes, we stream, all those things. But, like, ultimately, end of the day, I play games just like you guys. I want to play games that make sense to me. I want to play games that click with me. Monster Hunter is just not a game that's done that yet. Next on the list is Avowed. I am incredibly excited about this game. As we have talked about on the channel Obsidian Entertainment does not miss. They make great games. They know how to write. They know how to make great gameplay. They understand what makes good games work. Avowed has shown over the past couple of years that their original concept was good. They needed to evolve, right? They took a different art style in what was initially revealed to where they're at now. They've got really snappy gameplay out there. They've done a few previews. The previews look awesome. They're giving players a lot of autonomy. Quests, they said, can be started in multiple different ways. They want the experience to be organic. That's what I want in a fantasy RPG. This is a no-brainer for me. This is an S-tier game. It's up there with Fable and Judas and Slay the Spire. Absolutely going to be a great game. I agree with Sigma in the chat. It is going to be a critically acclaimed game. It is going to do incredibly well. It is not going to click for everybody. Because for whatever reason, a game like Skyrim does well, a game like Avowed won't. I can't quantify that. I can't tell you what the reasoning behind that is. Hopefully, the massive Skyrim following can find a game like Avowed and appreciate just how similar but different it is. I really want this game to succeed. One, because we love Obsidian Entertainment. Two, it looks good. It looks like a really great game. It is up there on my hype meter. It's a game I want to play. I think Avowed is going to be, I hope, one of the unsung heroes of 2025. I think it's going to get overshadowed in February by Monster Hunter and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. It is the least followed of those three games, but I think it's going to find its footing. I really do think it will. And yes, you guys are right. It being a Game Pass on day one will help. Absolutely will help. Obviously, we don't get report outs on those metrics, right? We don't know how many people are playing on Game Pass, but I think that's really going to help the game. Okay, next on the list, guys, Assassin's Creed Shadows. Just help me out here. Let's just do a gut check with the chat. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you're excited about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Because there is an internal conflict in me that is brewing that I don't know what to do with, quite honestly. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is a game that helped catapult this channel. It is a game that we covered extensively. But over the past few years, Ubisoft has slid. There's no doubt about that. Ubisoft is not the same company. Like, it's not the same company that it once was. And the narrative around Ubisoft is so toxic that it's hard to imagine covering the game and not just seeing the same level of hatred that we saw for Dragon Age, right? We already established in the chat here that, like, a lot of us actually liked Dragon Age. Did it have some bad writing? Yeah, it absolutely did. But, like, was the gameplay good? Yeah, it was pretty good. And that's kind of where I feel Assassin's Creed Shadows is currently at. There is no amount of good that this game could do to erase the Ubisoft stain. And that's unfortunate, right? Because Assassin's Creed games are usually very good. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, for all of its bloat, was a good game. Assassin's Creed Mirage was a really good game. It was all overshadowed by the fact that, one, Assassin's Creed has been around for 2 decades, and 2, it's made by Ubisoft, right? So, like, you've got a series that is historically very good. And they're finally doing something that fans have been asking for decades. A decade plus. But now, you have games like Ghost of Tsushima, Sekiro, other games that have dipped into the samurai, shinobi theme that have kind of helped taint where Assassin's Creed Shadows could go. Now, I agree. Them putting it on Game Pass is very smart. Them putting it on Steam is very smart. Because I think if they just release this game in their ecosystem, it's doomed to fail. And let's be very clear. Ubisoft is on the brink of collapse. They are. Every single game they released in 2024 was a disaster. Either game shut down, they launched with almost no fanfare. They've got their blockchain games, which secretly kind of deployed and, was like, oh, God, just awful. You see the reports and you're like, really, Ubisoft? Really? You bit at that apple? You didn't wait for the dust to settle? Ubisoft needs Shadows to be the biggest game they've released in the last 10 years. And if they don't hit that mark, I am very confident that Ubisoft will get bought out. It'll become a private company again, and they will go through a full housekeeping. A full house cleaning. They will clean house. And that's honestly what Ubisoft needs. They need a full top-to-bottom rework because the games that we loved growing up, almost like the Borderlands effect, right? They've gotten stale, and then you've got the culture war stuff on top of it, which, again, we've talked about, we don't care about on this channel. It still taints the way these games deploy. And they taint the way that players look at these games and the narratives around the games, which is why, when we try and play a game, we look objectively at the systems. So, yeah, it's a tough one for me. Danny, we also loved The Lost Crown. We released a review and a few extra videos on it. And Schmo and I both really loved that game. It was a low-key hit, but again, it's not the level of hit that Ubisoft needs. Ubisoft doesn't need a side-scrolling Metroidvania game to be their hit. Rayman is not going to save Ubisoft. Prince of Persia side-scroller is not going to save Ubisoft. This is the one game that could save Ubisoft. It is. It's the one game. I don't know if it's going to reach that level of success because of the nonsense around it, good, bad, or otherwise. And other games have proven that they can do it better, right? Because what we're going to see with Assassin's Creed Shadows is a lot of the same. We're going to see a lot of the same Assassin's Creed systems that we've seen in other games. And that's not bad. It's just the same. And we've already talked about developers that don't innovate and don't change and don't try and do things different. The fan base gets bored of those things, thematic changes or not. For Assassin's Creed to be going to feudal Japan is awesome. But if they're not going to change enough of what makes the game great and introduce some new mechanics or new systems to players, plus all of the nonsense, the noise on top of it, I don't know. I think it's going to be a really interesting test for Ubisoft. The kicker, guys, is that this is also dropping in February, right in the middle of Avowed, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Monster Hunter Wilds. That is a stacked freaking lineup. If you're going to spend $60, are you spending $60 on Assassin's Creed, Avowed, Kingdom Come, or Monster Hunter? You have to make that calculation because the norm is not people dropping $120, $180, $240 on games in 1 month. It's not. You might get people to play one game, buy one game. I just don't know if Assassin's Creed is going to outmuscle those other ones. And I'll tell you guys, if you would do a Steam DB for Assassin's Creed right now, it's got less than 10,000 followers. You know how many followers Monster Hunter Wilds has? Almost 300,000. I don't know, guys. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. For me, it's a B tier. It's right there with Arc Raiders. I'm excited about it because of what it's done for the channel. I love the series. I really hope that we can focus on the gameplay. I really hope we can focus on this new setting. And ultimately, I want it to be a good game. I like Assassin's Creed games. I do. I want them to do enough that's different that it feels like a fresh experience. Because at this point, I've covered Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Mirage. I'm hoping that Shadows is different enough that it feels unique. All right, guys, 5 more to go. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I think this is the second tier game in February. Monster Hunter Wilds is the first. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is the second. I am excited about this game for what it is doing for the community. I am not a Kingdom Come guy. I don't like the first-person melee-driven combat. That is a me thing. I'm sorry if I disappoint you. I've just never been that big into melee combat. I don't play games like, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on it. Holy moly. What's that? I just covered it on another game. On the Steam Winter Sale game. Chivalry. Jeez Louise. Mark. Relax, Mark. Calm down, man. Yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, for me, is just a game I'm not going to play. Because I don't have the time. I really want to play Avowed. I want to play Assassin's Creed. I want to play Wilds. Kingdom Come, for me, is the game that just doesn't rise to the level that I'm going to have the time or the capacity to play it. I don't like melee combat in most games. A game like Chivalry does not do anything for me. Even like the melee combat in Last Oasis, right? We talked about that before. I don't like directional combat. I get insane anxiety when I play a melee combat game, and I can't focus on what I'm actually doing. Yeah, Gustavo, I suck. I totally get that, man. I'm so bad at that part of the game, but it's only in a first-person mode. I don't mind like what we do in Marvel Rivals, right, with like melee combat and that type of game, but like directional-based combat where I have to aim and block directionally, just not my cup of tea. So again, like this is not an F-tier game. Absolutely not. It's not. I think, quite honestly, if I had more time, I would put this in a high C tier. Like it would be like a right here for me. But mainly it's because of who I am as a gamer. And again, I want to remind you of all, like this list is not the games that like are the best games of 2025 based on everybody's opinion. It's based on my opinion. It's subjective, right? It's definitely one of those games. Yeah, Matt, I agree with you. It's one of those games I might check out when it's on like a crazy sale. Because it's not a game that necessarily vibes with me at $60, but maybe it vibes with me at like a $20 range, right? Civ 7, this one's really easy for me, guys. Like Civ 7, I am not a Civ guy. I don't really play 5X games anymore. Is it 4X, 5X? I don't even know anymore. I played a few back in the day with a few buddies of mine, but like the entire macro, like, I don't know. There's just something about 4X. Thank you, Matt. There's something about the 4X genre that just doesn't really appeal to me anymore, mainly because it takes so long, right? And like, I don't have a ton of time to put into these types of games. So a game like Civ 7 continuing on something that is excellent is exciting, but like for me, it's nothing. Yeah, we don't have 5 days to complete a campaign with friends, as Livid said. So for me, it's an F tier, mainly because I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to like really spend any time in that space. Is it going to be a good game? I'm sure it's going to be great, but it's just not for me. Sorry, guys. Dune Awakening. Yes. Yes to all the things Dune Awakening. This is an S tier. This is a game we will be playing. We will be covering. We will have a clan on the channel. If you want a team that can absolutely dominate a MMO survival game, join up right now. Like, join the Discord, be part of the community right now, because when this game fires off, we are absolutely going to dominate. Livid and I have been playing in a closed beta for a while now. Livid has a way more experience than I do. This is going to be the biggest game, low-key, of 2025. There's an awesome event happening in Oslo in January. I wish I could go. I can't, unfortunately. They are going to reveal a ton of stuff about this game in the first quarter of the year. Hopefully we get a release date. Fingers crossed. I think it's going to be middle of the year. I think we're going to see this game come out in the summer. It's going to be the perfect everybody's home game. Let's stay online for 10 hours at a clip and blow people out of the dunes. S tier all the way. And yeah, honestly, guys, it's like right here for me. Like I don't know, like this whole lineup right here is really tough These are all games I cannot wait to play. Yeah. Oh, Colombian Kid. I did forget about Expedition 33. Shit. Because I really do actually, I really want to play that game. Livin, make me a graphic. We'll get to that one. I'll spend the extra 5 minutes and talk about that one too. Another game on the list is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. This is one of the... This one for me, and maybe you guys can help enlighten me. This game has been on like the top wish-listed games for Steam for quite some time now. And for me, it's like, it's cool, but I never played the first one. So like a first-person vampire game, action-adventure game, like I don't necessarily know what is happening in this game. It's narrative-driven, I think. You have vampire powers. That's cool. Like, what made the first game such a wild success? I don't know. Is this a cult following game? I just genuinely don't understand why this is on everybody's, like, it's one of the top followed games of 2025. And maybe that's because it's been teased for so long that, like, it's just built up enough of a following. Vampire games for me don't do anything. Like, there's no, like, I have no vampire allure, I guess you could say. I have no curiosity with vampire culture. So by the lack of you all typing in the chat, I'm going to assume that most of you are in the same boat. You don't necessarily care about this game, or maybe you do, but it's like kind of middle of the road. Like for me, it's a D tier. Like I might play it at some point. I don't know. It's kind of a meh. Yeah, it's meh. It's kind of a meh game. But the next game on the list, as Livid so kindly reminded me about, is Split Fiction. This was recently revealed at the Game Awards. This is an S-tier game. There is no way you will ever convince me that this is not an S-tier game. It's right here, guys. It's right there. And I will tell you why. If you have not played It Takes Two, you have not played one of the best video games ever created. It Takes Two was one of the best experiences, both immersive, gameplay, narrative, storytelling, you name it, they nailed it. Livin and I played that game, and we genuinely just like giggled like a bunch of schoolboys because of how freaking good that game was. Every moment was a new adventure. Every moment was unique. The same way we discussed Black Myth Wukong, never repeating anything, never reusing elements or assets. It Takes Two did all of that. If you have not seen the trailer for Split, you know what? Screw it. We're doing it. Because you know what? If you're in the stream right now, if you're still hanging with us at 11:55 at night, and you have not seen this trailer, it is my freaking job to make sure that you see this trailer. And this is 46,000 views on the PlayStation feed is embarrassing. I'm freaking embarrassed. But I'm okay with this. 575,000 on the EA stream. I'm okay with it. Guys, we're doing it. It's a 3-minute trailer. I don't care if it's midnight. Stick with me. This one is worth it. Find a buddy. Find a friend. Go get a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Because this one's going to be amazing. This is going to be another Game of the Year contender.
We sure cause a lot of explosions.
Okay, you better get ready, because I'm about to show you Hazelight's next co-op adventure called Split Fiction. And let me tell you this, get ready for a ride. You play as Mio and Zoe, two aspiring writers that hope to get published by a new tech company that can simulate their stories to life.
I can't do this.
Please calm down.
Accidentally accidentally, they end up in the same simulation.
What are you doing in my story? Something bad is going on here.
And there, they find out that their stories are about to get stolen.
No one escapes my simulation.
And in order to save them, they have to escape back to reality through the very worlds that they created.
Hands above your heads.
But the thing is, they're strangers, and Miyu writes sci-fi, while Zoe writes fantasy. So you will, for every level in the game, jump between a sci-fi world.
So cool, man. Look at all the perspective
fantasy
shifts.
world.
This
We at
looks
Haze
better
Light
than
love
99%
variation,
of the
and you
crap
have a
that's out
unique
there right
mechanic
now.
for every level. Let me give you some examples. In this level, you start out by finding dragon eggs that hatch.
Hey, stop licking.
And then they become a little bit bigger dragons with new abilities. By
So
the end,
great,
They
man.
grow up to be full-ass dragons. And now you can fly around and kick ass. In another level, you play these ball droids that can magnetize and shift to different forms. And then the droids become your exosuits. And you can now attack and hack different objects. Here's another one. You play as pigs, and they later become... Anyway, let's not talk about that level for now. And as always, with the Friends Pass, you only need to buy one copy of the game to play it with your friend online. That's what Haze Light is about. No loot boxes, no microtransactions, and no bullshit. You just get the game.
You have unpaid parking tickets. Time to die.
Excuse me?
God, it looks so good. Just looks so good. I understand what you guys are saying in the chat. Like, there are a lot of single player people out there that, you know, you want to play a game by yourself because it's your way of escaping the world. I get that. I totally get that. You have to try It Takes Two with somebody. Like, Livid and I, like, when we play games for the channel, for the most part, we don't actually play together. Livid is definitely much more in tune with like his group of friends. I am very much an isolated gamer. I want to focus on what I want to do. Like, unless I'm playing an MMO, and even then, like, I am not the type of person that wants to sit on voice chat and talk. Like, I want to play my game. I want to chat in the game. I want to do my thing. It Takes Two is just such a different type of experience that it completely transformed the way I look at these types of games. Just gaming in general. It was a transformative game. There are very few games that have transformed the way that I think about the gaming world. It Takes Two was one of them. Split Fiction, Joseph Ferris and the Haze Light team, they are absolutely looking to capture lightning in a bottle again. And this trailer is brilliant. It's amazing. Like, everything that you see in this trailer is a continuation of what It Takes Two was, elevated to the nth degree. The idea of fiction, fantasy, and sci-fi, it's what It Takes Two was, but now they're just taking that to the next level. Like, look at some of these gameplay clips. It's 100% dial it up to 11. Like, I think Joseph probably walked into the room in the studio after the success of It Takes Two and said, okay, we're doing the same game. Everything you did, do it better, do it crazier, do it bigger. That's what I think he did with Split Fiction. And quite honestly, I cannot wait to play this game. Livid and I are going to have an absolute blast playing this one. It is, without a doubt, an S-tier game for me. You cannot convince me otherwise. And yeah, I just genuinely cannot wait to play this game. S-tier. Okay, there is one more I need to add. And Livid did me a solid of making the graphic. Add from your device. Doot, doot, doot. Expedition 33. Thank you for reminding us that this one was one that we needed to have on the list. Because when this trailer initially came out for Expedition 33, I was blown away. Again, it's one of those games that you don't necessarily expect because it's different, right? It's not an established IP. It's not a sequel. It's not a remake. It's not a remaster. It's something completely different. And I think it deserves us looking at it because I don't know if all of you guys know what Expedition 33 is. So let's check it out. Reveal trailer. That's the one we want. It's only 2 minutes long. Sit back. Sit tight. And let's look, because I think this is another one that could be a sneaky hit of 2025.
Product not yet rated.
Soon she'll wake and paint again. Paint a new number, ticking down every year. One stroke, and everyone of that age vanishes into nothingness. Every year she paints again, and every year an expedition departs for the continent with one hopeless mission: destroy the paintress so she can never paint death again.
It looks
We'll break the
fantastic.
cycle so she can't steal anyone else's future.
This world is full of wonders.
Yet everywhere we go, we walk with death.
Do you mean we're the only ones left?
Even if we fail, we lay the trail for those who will come after. Right? We are Expedition 33.
So good. Thank you for reminding me that this game was coming out, because Expedition 33 is so unique, right? We talk about unique games. We've talked about it time and time again in this stream. Like, when you have a developer that is willing to try something different, it is enough to stand up and pay attention. And that is what Expedition 33 is. The whole concept of this paintress who, you know, brings down the number every year, and that entire age population of people disappears, is wild. It's a freaking wild concept. And then to see that the game actually looks really good on top of that is what matters, right? So you've got this really cool story foundation that they're building the game on, and then you see the game in action, and you're like, oh, wow, that's really unique. Because they could have gone with a million different genres for this game. They could have gone with a Souls game. They could have gone with an action game. They went with a turn-based action game, which is not what I was expecting. Like, when I first saw like the option menu to like attack, defend, cast, whatever, like, definitely not what I was expecting from this team. But again, it's a Japanese developer. That's kind of their wheelhouse, right? But you've got the visual aesthetics that absolutely sell me on this game. Like, so much beautiful animation and thematic elements and characters and enemies. There's so many cool things here to get excited about. And again, like, I'm not throwing stones at the turn-based action game. I'm playing Darkest Dungeon 2 right now. It's a turn-based roguelite. There are actually elements of this game that make me think this is going to be a roguelite in some element. Because they talk about, at the way end, if you pay attention to the voiceover, they talk about how a failed expedition is leaving a path for the next team that comes. So if you don't make it to the end, you have to start over. It's very clear in that last scene we just saw together that the game itself is pushing you for kind of that failure loop, right? I can't wait. Man, I'm so glad one of you guys brought it up because it's a game that I am genuinely excited to play. It's an A-tier game for me. It's somewhere in this realm here. Like, I look at this A-tier list of games, like, that's a solid list of games in the A-tier. But I think it's kind of like, it's right here. It could go either way with South of Midnight. I feel like both those games are kind of interchangeable for me. It definitely doesn't go above Outer Worlds 2, and it definitely doesn't go above Doom. It's about right here. So, guys, it's late. We powered through 2.5 hours of tier listing together to bring you this list of top games for 2025. And if you're looking at this list and you're confused about things like Monster Hunter, Ghost of Yotai being there at the bottom, yeah, you have to understand it's my top games of 2025. It's the games that I want to play. You cannot tell me objectively that this S tier list of games does not look freaking incredible. Split Fiction, easy. Elden Ring, easy. Dune Awakening, if you're into survival games, easy. Slay the Spire 2, I mean, not even a question. Fable, historically, is what's amazing about that game. We have not seen gameplay yet, right? So we can't really say that, like, this is the game, right? Because we don't know what the gameplay is going to look like yet. Judas, because of Ken Levine and the legacy of BioShock. And Avowed, because, hell yeah, Obsidian, do your thing. Make a damn good fantasy RPG. Let's go. The A tier is just as solid. Doom the Dark Ages, Outer Worlds 2, both really impressive looking games that I think are going to have a big following. Maybe not a massive following, but they're going to be really well done games. South of Midnight, Expedition 33, Hyper Light Breaker, all unique, right? That's what ties those three games together. They're three games that I think are trying to do that things that are different, that are interesting. Hopefully they're successful at it. The gameplay so far for all three look incredible. Are they going to catch fire? Are they going to catch that lightning in a bottle? I don't know. Hard to say at this point. I hope so, but who knows? Then you've got this group in the B tier. These are not bad games, guys. Arc Raiders, not bad at all. Assassin's Creed Shadows, we talked about that. There's nothing wrong with another Assassin's Creed game in a world that the fans have been asking for a decade. The Altars, Mouse, all doing something different. Hell Is Us, also doing something different. Kingmakers, just dumb fun. And then Eternal Strands, an homage to Shadow of the Colossus. That's really cool too. Then you've got the C tier, and this is where I might start to lose some of you guys, but hang with me. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Crimson Desert are games that probably would be up there higher for a lot of you guys. I get that. I definitely get that. But for me, because of the games that I like to play, they're middle of the road. I'm going to play them eventually. I'm going to check them out. But I don't know. For me, they're just not my type of game. Atomfall, I'm really interested in the concept, the theme, but in terms of the gameplay, I'm not sold. Mecha Break, same thing. Not a game for me. The gameplay looks incredible. This is Livid all over, but for me, it's just not a game that I'm that excited about at this point. Then you've got kind of the D and the F tier, and I really don't need to run through these. These games are going to pop off for certain people, right? Like Borderlands 4, there is a huge Borderlands community. I understand that. There are going to be a rabid following for that game. It's just not for me. I want to see Gearbox do something different with that series, and they're proving they don't want to do that. Dragonkin, Vampire, Civ 7, Dynasty Warriors, Metroid Prime, fine. They're out there. They will have a following. It's just not for me. Then you've got honorable mention, and I have to say this because I don't want people eviscerating me in whatever form it may take. Monster Hunter Wilds is probably an S tier game for a lot of you guys. I get that. As I've talked about, I am still trying to find that connective piece that makes Monster Hunters relevant for me. I have tried to play World 4 times. I have not been successful in doing that in a way that it clicks for me. I've talked about that with other games. Hollow Knight didn't click for me until the third playthrough. I am trying to get there with Monster Hunter. I want to play the game. I want to cover the game in February. We'll see if it happens. Because honestly, World is not that interesting to me. I want it to be, but I haven't gotten there yet. Subnautica, forget about it. I'm not playing Subnautica 2. Absolutely ridiculous to think that I would ever dive into a deeper body of water with crazy tentacled monsters. You're just freaking insane. And then Ghost of Yotai, Death Stranding 2. I'm not a PlayStation guy. I don't have a PlayStation 5, so like I can't play them physically. And then Grand Theft Auto, as we've talked about, yeah, of course that's going to be an S tier for most of you guys. But like for me, I've never been that into Grand Theft Auto. I couldn't play it growing up as a kid. Parents didn't let me do it. By the time I was an adult, there were better games out there that I wanted to play. So yeah, I never played Grand Theft Auto, and really just not the game for me. This is the tier list, guys. My tier list for 2025. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't. Feel free to let me know in the comments, in the chat, whatever form that may take. I think it's a pretty solid list. And if you look at 2025 across the board, I'm actually really excited about some of these games. There is a lot of games in that S, A, and B tier that I am pumped to play. And hopefully, if this is the first time you've checked out the stream, now you have exposure to a few new games that you might have on your radar now. But man, I think we're going to be eating good in 2025. And yeah, if there's a big Microsoft event in January, expect a few new games maybe to even be added to this list. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight. I really appreciate it. As you know, we stream every Sunday, Legacy After Dark, a couple hours. I don't know what we're going to do next week. I think next week will be the first week of 2025. Maybe we'll talk about some new trailers that drop, some new news, lots more stuff to come. As always, thank you so much for the support. We will see you guys for some new videos, for some new streams. Thanks for hanging out for 2.5 hours. You guys are troopers. Had a blast hanging out with you tonight, and we'll see you for the next one. All right, guys, take care. Bye.